Man, AI.
Surprise, surprise. Namaste. We are back again to a much delayed podcast we are trying to do with some guests, but the time could not be managed. So we thought we will be doing it this as an audience reaction session. So initially, we will start the session. So we're going to talk about various things, including West Asia, primarily on West Asia, and then we will discuss some other things as well. So it's going to be an audience reaction session. So people who are members of this channel, you can see the link in the members only post for you to come and join us and discuss. But we'll start with Anand, and so correct. We see what's happening in West Asia, specifically from India's perspective.
Before we
So
even get to that,
you,
you should
yeah,
rename the podcast. What do you
yeah,
call
I
it?
will read in the, I, I'll read in the podcast a bit later. We did
Suggestion
designated
I gave
new
you.
terminal for that.
Suggestion I gave you.
Yeah, I will do that
it,
later.
it describes the situation perfectly.
Yeah, but anyway, let's start. We will
Yeah.
create a new thumbnail and put that as well. Rename it.
So are you asking me to like how
Yeah.
do we break it
So
down first?
okay, see, first of all, break it down is because it is going to be layman's perspective. So that's a very important perspective, important thing that like today, because we live in a connected world. So we have like everything which is happening in Amazon or in Dubai or in Iran or in Israel, it does have a bearing on our lives because we live in a very connected world. Okay. So in that context, as a layman who is who has lived outside India as well, and now you are living in India, so what is your perspective, like has your life changed in many ways after this war has occurred, where you are seeing, and I will share some visuals as well, how lucky we are that we are in India, and how people are suffering emotionally, physically, and in many other ways. So your perspective on the war itself, and how it has affected you psychologically, physically or financially, in whatever ways.
Right. Like first, let's acknowledge the funniest part of this entire situation. Right. For
Mm.
the last, I don't know, I think like 5 6 years, there's propaganda. I mean, actually, since the second term of Modi, there's propaganda that's being pushed that people want to run out of India. They want to run away from India. India is so horrible. People want to run away and they want to settle in other lands. Right.
Mm, mm, mm.
But I was watching the news and I was watching all these Indians from the Gulf saying, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to be back in India. I feel so safe and calm, and my heart is like weight has gone down." I'm like, that's exactly what it is. India is your safe space. Like literally nothing can happen. Even the whole world goes to shit, India will be the safest place in the world. Okay, that's just literally how it's going to be. We have to thank our Devi Bharat Mata for creating this land that keeps us like, quite well protected. Okay, we don't get earthquakes, we don't get anything like major disasters. We don't get no volcanoes, nothing. Literally, okay. We're the most protected place in the universe, like in the whole, not the universe. I mean, like on Earth. The second thing is it's very interesting. All the people who like they so value the Gulf and its money, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have. Any minute there can be a fight between these great powers, and basically you're under, like landing under a pile of rubble, right? So I think something happened today in Riyadh, not Saudi Arabia, somewhere. No, not Riyadh. So I think Saudi Arabia somewhere. Building was hit, residential complex was hit, and a lot of Indians and Bangladeshis died. So I don't know what's going to happen. Like it's going to get worse before it gets better. And
Yeah, because I ask you these questions primarily because you have lived outside India. So like
yeah, yeah.
there could have been a time if you had not come back to India, you would be living somewhere else, and you might be affected by this. So by like by grace of Bhagwan, you are here. So like
No,
you
that's
can
true.
imagine yourself being outside.
I can, yeah. But I can't imagine myself living in the Gulf. The kind of person I am, I cannot imagine living there. So I do understand but the thing is that even if you're outside of India, if you really are, if you, especially if you're raised in India, you want to come back at some point. I'm telling you, I guarantee you. Even the more richest person who has lived in India when they're younger and has gone abroad wants to someday come and settle down and live forever and die here. I guarantee you this. They will not tell you openly, but they want to. However convenient the rest of the world is.
But
But
why do you think why it is the case? Is it a animal thing? Because correct, every animal it's a kind of an animal thing, correct? That whenever they are born, they come back to again to die there or again to give birth to new generations. Like salmon migration is a classic example. Is it a human thing or is it something which is our animal trait, which they are
no, I think
like?
something unique about India and maybe little to extend Southeast Asia. There is this
Hmm.
level of homeliness that this region has. Like even like maybe in the future may change, but right now though, if you give my experience, I feel very like I've lived here, I've lived in Southeast Asia, I've lived a little bit in the US. That India feels very comforting. Wherever you live, whether you live in the city, you live in the village, there's something about the way our society is structured that it is very welcoming. It literally is the reason why people are flocking these days, especially in the world. In the world, they're especially not able to earn too much money. Even on a small amount of money, you can somehow survive in India and do reasonably well. Like you don't have to um, worry about like your the next meal and stuff like. So India's one that way it's very positive. Maybe that's my privilege talking, but that's how it is. I see.
Yes. So let me ask you this one because while we are talking, I'm showing the visuals of Tehran now, which is now it's like a black sky. It looks like a dystopian a city right now. The way the visuals are coming.
Well, Iran is already a dystopian place. See, the big problem with this. Well, let's frame this conflict. Okay, the conflict is very
Here
simple.
it is.
It's very simple.
Here is your northeastern Tehran
Yeah, yeah. The
burning
conflict is very
literally.
simple. The conflict is through history. This region, this particular state, has not been given its at least it's forget about democracy. It's not been given the chance for its people to decide its fate. Persia right now. The place of Persia, a little bit parts of Afghanistan have not been given the choice to determine their fate. And this has been for like almost like 1,500 years. We have to be very honest about this, right? They have not had a chance to build their economy the way they want. They're not like just like India also. Like to some extent, they do mirror us in a way, right? They've not been the chance to build their ethical systems by their own sensibilities. Two large religions have been fighting for domination of this place. Christianity and Islam both are fighting for the future of these people, and they had no chance to determine their ethics. The clergy of these two regions, these two large religions, have been trying to manipulate them. Right? Imagine if they were free of these two burdens, what could they accomplish? Like for example, I was noticing our foreign minister and some of our so-called thinkers in India were like, "Oh, Iran is a civilization state." No, it's not. Not right now. Iran is not a civilization state right now. Right now, it's just a religious state. A civilization state would have a unique set of ethical systems that's different from the rest of religious conundrums that religion has. Right? You tell me what's unique about Iranian Islam or Iranian civilization ethics? Nothing. They just follow the same Sunni Shia nonsense that you find everywhere else in the world. There's nothing unique about it. Maybe they have the college of whatever clergy voting their thing, but that's literally like a pope, right? Where is the Iranian idea? I'm not saying it's exactly. I said like, but where is the Iranian idea? The Iranian, the Western idea It's not there anymore. So what is the civilization about
Yeah,
it?
yes, actually, that's a very important part of it. Uh, it's my personal perspective. So, no offense to anybody. Like everybody has the right to their own opinions. So, like a lot of people say that Iranians inherited the glorious, what we say, the glorious tradition of Persian Empire and the Persian poetry, arts, culture, high culture, literature. But and for me it is very difficult to reconcile the clerical regime which ran Iran since 1979, and somehow they don't fit well the Persian Empire, the Persian heritage, and this what do we call fundamentalist regime, which kills women because they don't wear a hijab. How you reconcile them at actually human level? Forget about in terms of politics and other things at the human level.
You cannot reconcile them, right? I mean,
Exactly.
in the sense that you should, to understand this, I think you need to go back 1,000 years, and understand what actually happened in Iran, right? So Iran, prior to the, I think it was, I forget which caliphate it was. I think it was the Rashidun Caliphate or something like that. Very early, around 800, 900 AD, or CE, was conquered by the Arabs, right? So it was one of the first conquests for the Arabs as well. And that Islamization was a form of colonization that happened. Shia Islam was itself, one could consider to be a reaction against the Arab culture that was sort of imposed on them, and its uniqueness with respect to um, retaining Iranian culture, which also manifests itself in the form of like Shia Islam, is also sort of like a reaction to it. Um, but the again, this has the same problem as I think we might have heard from Biljita, or if you'd read Ramasesha Chandrasekharan, or any other authors who's basically um, um, looked and looked into and researched deeply into say the Christianization process, you'd find similar trends in also Iran as well, right? So um, Iranian Islam, in order to maintain both its uniqueness and its Islamic characteristics, will always be sort of antediluvian. That means it won't be catch up with times. It won't modernize itself, but it will keep on imposing a certain kind of conservatism upon its own people, right? So um, I think fundamentally, because of it's actually a pretty sad state, right? Like, and we do see some reflections of what's happening in Iran within our own subcontinent as well, right? Like, um,
Yes.
so I think i- unless like Iranians themselves basically say that we've had enough with Shia Islam, which would be quite a dramatic thing. It would have its own effects and ripples within India itself, to be honest. Um, it will be stuck in this like identity crisis, if I might put it, right? Where the the antediluvian nature of the regime will always be oppressive. It always impose upon the more ancient Persianic Persianic roots.
No, but my question
Yeah.
is the Persianate roots even existing anymore? See, that's my problem. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
this typical
Yeah.
of
Exactly.
No, I mean it still exists,
no, no. I'm
right?
saying
So,
that actually why I'm saying this because I feel like they take the trappings of the culture. They basically appropriated the trappings because there's nothing. Tell me what is fundamentally new and Persian about the fact that they look at the kind of art and architecture they used to build.
no, I
Has
mean,
the so-called
so
Iranian the current Shia cleric system have ever built any of that stuff? Have they done
So
any of that stuff, the hard
no,
work?
let me give you an example, right? I do believe some of that Persianate, at least a shadow of the Persianate culture still exists, right?
Okay.
Because um, now, uh, to understand this, I think it's better to understand the broader region as well, right? Like, what do people in, say, any of the Stan nations consider themselves to be? They actually consider themselves to be Persians. The thing is, um, the difference between Uzbek and Tajik people is essentially, they're essentially same people, is except that Tajiks consider themselves to be more Persianate than their Uzbek relatives, right? Similarly, if you talk to, say, Azeri, Iran has a huge Azerbaijani population, right? But they don't associate themselves with Azerbaijan because, but they associate themselves with Persian culture, right? So there are shadows of Persian culture over there, and you can see the regime, um, let's say, tactically use that from time to time in order to basically raise nationalistic or civilizational fervor. It may be incomplete, it may be, let's say, half formed, or if you want to look at it from another perspective, half destroyed, but it still exists, right? It's not what it used to be prior to or under the Sassanids, or say the Achaemenids, or the various Persian empires that actually used to have these strong cultural exchange, and also like rivalries with us in the subcontinent. So it still exists, right? And the regime does use it from time to time. um, as recently as like sometime last year, when the Iranian ambassador to Delhi, the embassy over there basically posted like this huge social media, AI generated social media song and dance, which actually became viral in India. Very catchy song about Satranj.
Mm. That's what I'm saying. They use the trappings, but where is the inherent absorbing of that culture into the tradition is still extremely what do you call it what do you call it, conservative Islam. Whether they have the whether they've tried to differentiate themselves from the Sunnis in a what I don't want a collegium type way, it doesn't matter. They have not done the fund, like take for example, I'll give you an example, right? You take Indonesian Islam. Indonesian Islam is uniquely Indonesian. Like they literally have rewritten all their laws to suit the Indonesian taste. So they can put up the Durga. They can put up a Durga. They can put up a say Garuda. They can put up a Ting Rama. They can put all of the stuff, and it will not affect their religious sensibilities. But in
Well,
Iran, you can't do that. You can't say, "Oh, like, there's great Zarathustra," and you can put up a statue of Zarathustra like, "Oh, it's allowed." No, it won't be there. They're not adopting any of their old traditions. Like you can't. For example, the Iranians have a tradition of religious martial combat, where they use that big shield. They use the swastika. Like they are also Aryan technically, but that's not brought up in their system. It's not part of their system anymore. Some people use it just to use the trappings for their cultural I don't know what, show off. But beyond that, there's nothing there from Iran.
that is
So
the
the
half.
point is that, sorry,
That is the half destroyed part that I was talking about, right? But
I'm
they're
not even
not.
saying half. It's like they have like 10% of their Iranian traditions that they sort of using. It's like wall draping, you know.
I mean, there are self references to the past Iranian culture itself within Iran, right? So you can
Uh,
see it in some
Munshi,
form of. Yeah, go ahead.
Munshi, let me just actually, I think you raised a very important point. So you are mentioning that, correct? The Iranian regime, we call it a regime, not a like proper administration. It's a regime since 79 onwards, 79. They are using the bogey of thousand year old heritage of Persian Empire to actually legitimize their own uh, like mullah regime. So they are just giving lip service to this Persian heritage to actually solidify their own rule. Have they
Uh,
done anything?
no, let me clarify a little bit over here, right?
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
now, um, if you what we are looking at Iran right now is the Iran since 1979, right? But
Yeah. Mm,
Iran I think to some extent, the folks at the MEA are also right in the sense that Iran is itself a civilizational state, right? It's a malformed civilizational state. I think we can argue about that, but nonetheless, it has deep historical roots, and you can't disconnect Iran's historical unless you do a complete wipe, like what the Arabs did in North Africa, or the Spaniards did in, say, Central and South America. Like, you cannot disconnect Iran from its deep civilizational roots. Like, it is very difficult, right? And um, what the Arab invaders did in the 800s and 900s and subsequent centuries was just a half-baked job, right? So that's one aspect that you need to understand. The other thing you need to understand is that, um, th- even if you go back to the more recent past, right? So 100 or 200 years ago, the Qajar dynasty, which preceded the Pahlavi dynasty, they always made references to their Iranian past, right? Not just as a form of, you know, differentiation between, say, the Arabs, uh, but also as a form of basically holding some form of legitimacy of the current day borders of Iran, right? Um, but they've also sort of balanced that out with their Shia influence. Now, Shiaism itself can be also seen as a form of reaction against, say, the Arab form of Sunnism. Now,
Or imperialism. You can say Arab
imperialism.
imperialism.
Yeah, Arab imperialism, whatever you want to call that, right? I prefer the term Islamic colonization, but it's a reaction to Islamic colonization. Um, when it comes to present day, right now, what happened in '79 was they used the Pahlavi dynasty's celebration of, say, its ancient Persianate culture, right? He was trying to resurrect, like, Cyrus and Darius as, like, Iranian heroes, um, and they used that to basically topple the regime, right? That's the first thing you need to understand. Second thing, what they did is they really tried, right, for the first 30 years. I think, like, until sorry, for the first 10 or so years, they really tried to Islamize the country in the same way the Taliban did in Afghanistan. But that failed, right? Then they had the Iran-Iraq war, and they basically pivoted on that, and they went full uh, Cyrus, Darius, blah blah blah, etc., etc. Right? And the regime has been sort of, when it's in trouble with external enemies, has always made references to its more civilizational past, right? And I think that this is something that people, uh, especially in the West, have sort of missed out on, right? When they look at the Iranian regime, and we are also, our I think our information space, at least even in India, is also dominated by a lot of Western narratives, but
Yes,
to some extent,
obviously,
right?
yes.
I don't
Yes,
think
yes.
it's
No, no.
like,
It is certainly that. It is. There is no question that the information that we receive regarding what's happening in Israel, Iran, or somewhere, it is primarily the Western source. It is
right,
not.
right.
It is
Even
a profit there.
even journalists, like, lazily pick up Western analysis and present it as some kind of gold, but they tend to miss out on, either deliberately or unintentionally. They tend to miss out on this pivot that the Iranian regime does from time to time, right? Maybe because they want to basically own that part, right? Now, if you look at Western psyops, is mostly, uh, oh, ancient Iranian civilizational culture versus this Islamic imposition. That's their framing, right? But the truth is, like, not that. It's more like the regime uses, uh, can't seem to get rid of the uh, Persianate past, and can't destroy it, and it has to live with this, like, chimera called Shia Islam. So it always tries to pivot between the two. And when one becomes a little excessive, it kind of pivots to the antediluvian conservatism to sort of balance it out.
No, see, the reason I brought up this very specific idea that Iran is not, I don't agree with this. It's a civilizational state. Even if you use these particular measurements that you're saying, I don't think it's because a civilizational state has deep ties with every citizen. If, take example in India, okay? Until this Salafi changing of Indian Muslims happened, and even this conservatism of Indian Christians, at some level, even the Christians and Muslims of the Indian subcontinent had some connection to this civilization. Like they used to freely adopt dharmic practices and traditions, and even part of the philosophy. Like, if I'm not wrong, there was this Bengali or Bangladeshi guy who's trying to define Allah in terms of Brahman, in terms of very similar. Like he's framing the, I don't know, I forgot his name, but there's one where he's talking about frame Allah that way, not the way the Quran frames it, but more the Indian Muslim, the Indian subcontinent way, right? So I have not seen that out of Iran. That's first thing. Second thing, the bigger problem is this: because there is no serious definition of what defines the Iranian civilizational states, the Western world, now this is coming from the other side. The Western world has been using this idea, the Iran is a civilizational state, to say that you have to get rid of these Shias. You have to understand, both are using this idea of the civilizational state to fight this war. Westerners are saying, oh, Pahlavi needs to come back to bring back the golden era of the non-mullah regime. But it is not possible at this point. Even if you bring Pahlavi back and put him in power, the country will essentially remain Shia, mostly in power. Like, they will control the politics, right? And because they've been attacked so viciously through a war, they will get more hardline. Because that's how you notice Islam. How is it? When it's attacked physically in a significant way, it gets more hardline. It gets less hardline, right? You look at the states and look at the Balkans, right? Balkans were mostly Christian, but when the Western world attacked them a lot, they didn't become more Christianized. They became like more secular. But this is not the same about with the Islamic states. They get more Qatar, more violent, more aggressive, more turn to terrorism. So my problem is this: the problem is that we are using this idea of civilizational state in the West Asia. We are falling into the trap of these two large religions, using the excuse of civilizational state to destabilize the region even more. So I appreciate the Indian stance. You do these changes via economics, via social conditioning, via social cohesion and discussion. This idea of fighting for the land. Like, look at what happened in the White House, right? Trump had these people coming and do a religious sermon for him. He's blessed by God. Like, the minute the Iranian IRGC can literally spread this video all over Iran, saying, "See now, this is not about them giving you freedom. This is about Christianity coming to colonize Islam." See, the problem is this. The problem is this is not a civilizational state, and the two religions are fighting over the landmass. That's the problem. We should be looking at it that way, right? And look at this example how terrorism came onto the Middle East. If you observe the antecedents of it, it is the American deep state that created the foundation of terrorism, long-term terrorism. But they're not going to acknowledge the fact that they created this problem. Then they create again in Syria. Like, who was one who, the Ba'athist parties kept terrorism, to a certain extent, kept them contained within their states. So, for example, Saddam Hussein and Bashar al-Assad kept the terrorist influences reasonably well contained within their state because they were such horrible dictators, right? They were able to control it. You need that democracy didn't have those tools to restrict ideologies. They do not accept democracy. Democracy fails those tools. It doesn't have those tools. And this will come to your discussion later about how people have Hindus are being assaulted all over the democratic world. Because fundamentally, they don't have the tools to fight with a group of people who have already decided the state does not matter to them. The rules of the state do not matter to them. So my worry fundamentally is that this war now is creating terrorists for the next 2 decades. Because those youngsters who are in Iran right now, those youngsters who are sitting in Saudi Arabia, who are sitting in all those regions, Arab regions, are observing this behavior. See, you have taken out that religiously. First of all, let me be clear. I don't accept the authority of the state of Iran itself. Because fundamentally, let's think about it. They, first of all, it was taken over, given to them by a coup of communists and Islamists. Like, the people did not get to choose this option, right? And they've never had a chance to break out of that option because they've been restrained, repressed in such a way that they don't have the ability to talk about it, right? So when people, like, for example, a lot of people go around saying, "Oh, it's a legitimate state. You bombed a legitimate state." No, Iran is not a legitimate state. It's like saying the Nazi, the German country under Nazis was a legitimate state. It is not a legitimate state, right? Because they started off as a legitimate state, but later over time they took away the power of people to express their opinion. It doesn't have to be democracy, but it could be any other method. It could be maybe a parliament, like, I don't know, even if you have an anarchic state, right? It's not even an anarchic state. It is a single repressive state. Say, I don't accept Saddam Hussein's state as a legitimate state. So you have a right to attack such states because they are not legitimate. Actually, democracy is the right to attack such states. I don't accept this. Oh, the UN world order. I mean, when did you decide this? Please tell me this document in the UN says that even democracies and authoritarian states can be compared on the same keel. That's what the UN has done. The UN has basically created this framework. And they literally allow for democratic states that the West doesn't like to be called autocracies. Right? They use these stupid, they put Indian democracy under bloody, under Afghanistan. Like, I mean, to me, the Western world order of framing civilization is ridiculous. It makes no bloody sense. So that's my problem. My problem is that with this conflict. This conflict is that this is not being discussed enough. That these both groups, the ones who are attacking Iran and the Iranian so-called state, are neither legitimate in their actions. Both need to be called out in their function. The problem is both people have taken sides and both sides is fighting. Right? That's the problem. Go on, Vishwas.
Oh, well, I think the West will remain the West, right? To be honest, like, toppling the Iranian regime has sort of been an obsession in the West, especially in the Anglosphere. Actually, if you look at the reactions in the West, right? It's cleanly divided between Anglosphere and non-Anglosphere players. France is not for it. Spain is not for it. Germany is sort of muted, right? They're not supporting, but they're not publicly against it either. But this is
Shastri, hold on, Shastri. When you're talking about the Europeans, so uh, Europeans, do they have any say? It's very like Europeans, just to be not to belittle them, but European, the whole European continent has been a kind of a vassal state to US after World War II. So, do Europeans have anything influence on the what US does or what England does in terms of defense?
See, your mainline continental Europeans still have some level of agency, right? Like, they might not have influence, but they have some agency. Now, I'm trying to contrast the reaction between, say, UK.
Just hold on, Shashi. Oh, okay. So people who are members, channel members, correct? I have put the link. I have put the link in the members only post in the community post, so you can join and talk to us. Okay. So I think Rishabh is here. So he's a member. The people who are members, you can come and directly contribute to this. Go ahead, Munshi.
Yeah, so I'm first. I think there needs to be a distinction between, like, the reactions within Europe, right? Now, let's compare how the UK reacted versus France's reaction, right? The UK completely capitulated. If I were to look at the way in which Starmer basically allowed this operation to happen, right? So the Americans did use facilities in the Mediterranean, British facilities in the Mediterranean. They have an airbase in Cyprus. They did coordinate with British armed forces over there to actually defend some of their Gulf territories, right? Like, the UK also still, even though the Royal Navy has no presence, the UK still has a base in Qatar, right? The Royal Air Force has a base over there. If I were to look at, say, the reaction of, say, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, versus, and compare that with France, you'd see a completely different set of reactions, right? France still exercised its agency by saying, "This is not, we are not participating in this. We are not allowing US to use our resources to participate in this." Germany might not have said that, but their actions speak louder than words, right? Ramstein Air Base was not used for mission planning at all. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to make a distinction between influence to basically stop the US from doing this versus exercising agency. France and Germany exercised agency. None of the Anglosphere countries have, right? When I'm talking about Anglosphere countries, I'm talking about Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and UK.
Yeah, okay, I got it. So France has still some amount of thing, but the Germans have any, like, do Germans have any army where, like, are they spending enough money on their army? Because the including France, correct, the welfare state which France has built after World War II made sure that they didn't had any money to actually build their defense infra,
No,
their
I mean,
capabilities.
this is not about army or army size or the ability to spend on defense, right? So the
Hmm.
US has, I mean, you can assist the Americans in this campaign in various different ways, right? Intelligence is one of them, providing air bases is another one, right? Providing refueling facilities is another one, right? Maybe sending your ships as like secondary support role is a third one. I mean, the, there are non-kinetic ways or let's call them explosive ways in which you can help the Americans. The Israelis are doing that, right? Like, this is a joint Israeli-American operation. Let's be honest about it. But none of the European countries have done that, right? On the other hand, they've actively refused any kind of support, whether that's intelligence, refueling, support, uh, even advisories. Right? So I think you do need to take these things into consideration and look at, they're exercising their agency,
Hmm.
right? And let's also look at how European diplomats have reacted in New Delhi. Now, every time there's a Russian diplomat or somewhat of a pro-Russian position, European diplomats in New Delhi cry, write effusively in opinion pieces in every mainstream media, or even like the Indian editions of mainstream media in New Delhi, right? You get these like uh, huge like one pager articles saying why it is morally wrong, etc., etc., blah 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 blah, right? But there was total silence here. Now, let me add some more context to this, right? The Iranian diplomat came to attended the MEA's, the Ministry of External Affairs, most premier event called Ricina Dialogue at short notice. And there was no reaction from European diplomats, right? Even the British diplomat made some noise, but it was still like nothing compared to what they would say for, say, what they would write for, say, a Russian diplomat attending Ricina Dialogue. Right? The American diplomat, rather than being direct, was sort of like, gave a side-eyed comment saying that America will not make the same mistake or something like that, right? I think like these are um, uh, these are things that you can read in between the lines to understand how people are reacting, right? And what
No,
it says about the state itself, right? Like what it
but
says
what you
about
said
the
about diplomats, it tells you a lot about how hypocritical the so-called Western idea of morality is, right? Because fundamentally, the Iranian state and the Russian state are repressing their people in a similar ways. Actually, I would think the Iranian state represses even more than the Russian state. Like Russians may be under an autocrat, but at some level, Russians are way more free to do what they want in their cultural sphere than what an Iranian is. Like that's literally they literally can have a contrary opinion. Like people can go and live in Russia from different cultures and they can experience their culture no problem. Like a Hindu can go and literally dance in the middle of the street and do bhajans and they will not have problem in Russia. But in Iran, you go try it, you'll get lynched. So I would say the idea of morality that the Western world has is even more flawed because they like like condemn Putin because he took political freedom away, but every other freedom is gone away. Is there not there in Iran? But they will not say a whisper about the Iranian regime, but they will say a lot about the Russian. Like the non-stop, it's about them.
I think it's a fool's errand to chase any form of morality
No, I'm
when
not
it comes.
chasing it. See, this is the
Hold on.
mistake. I think you mistake my point. I'm
Let
not
me finish.
chasing them to make them good or bad. I'm saying
No,
let us be honest about the fact that the world, especially the Western world, on morality they're hypocritical. We should not take any lectures from them on morality.
no, we don't take any. We don't tolerate
We
any.
do.
Right?
That's a problem.
Like New Delhi does not tolerate any. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
a Indian with a good sense of their own civilization and history would not tolerate any. Right? I mean, like you can see by how wildly they react to any quote unquote Brit shit that basically says stuff on any social media, right? Like it- it's it's gotten to a point that even Brits are even scared of referring to the empire within their own home islands, which is actually quite a huge thing. But again, when it comes to state, the various Western states, chasing morality is again a fool's errand. If they had
Agreed.
any morality, then it would have existed maybe 400 years ago when they actually started their colonization projects, or 500 years ago. I mean, they've had 500 years of expressing their morality, and they've made a freaking mess of the world, right? They wiped like one entire hemisphere, a culture
Yeah.
of an entire hemisphere. So nobody takes the differential here is actually hard power, right? They've had the hard power for the past 350 years, and they've imposed a certain kind of uh, uh, rules on the rest of the world. That may be changing, but it's changing slowly. But ever since independence, nobody has taken any word that a Western state has had to say about morality seriously. They've actually pushed back on it quite heavily. At times, uh, at the cost of their own national interests, right? I mean, now sorry, not national interest, sovereignty.
Yeah,
So
Shastri, but that is a very recent change, maybe after 2014 or something, because I can show you this Nirupama Rao Menon, correct? Like I remember watching her give some press conference or some statements on behalf of MEA. When I was not very old, very young indeed. So you had, correct, you had literally the Indian government being overawed by the moral superiority of the Western nations.
I mean, I have my opinions of Nirupama Rao myself. Like,
No, no, no. I'm not talking about the individual. I'm talking about what that individual represented pre
Yeah.
2014.
yes. So let me put it in a couple of different ways, right? So what has changed since 2014? Um, I think India's economic situation has improved quite a bit, right? Like we have consistently reformed ourselves. We are still on the path of reforms. We have consistently posted really good, high quality growth rates. And with that growth rate, we've also consistently invested in hard power, right? So with all of that actually comes a shift in your tone and what you can do, right? In tone and what you can do. Now, even if you go back to the pre 2014 era, right? uh, the despite what the political dispensation wanted, or desired rather. I mean, the political dispensation always looks at these things through local vote banks, but that's a discussion for a different time. But despite what the political dispensation of the day desired, they still held up to some principled stances, right? So uh, India opposed the Iraq War, rightly so, but didn't do anything beyond, say, raise a voice, right? It didn't raise a coalition. It still stuck to its own interests. This is not a fight worth fighting for, right? I suspect that MEA is going to work the same way. They're just going to wait and watch, um, and see what happens. And if there's a regime change, okay, there's a regime change. The MEA will work with the new regime and ensure some form of stability. Now you have to remember one thing is that, sure, we might sort of be repulsed by what Nirupama Rao has to say about the current situation, and maybe look at it from a point that, oh, she's a congressy, she's a secularist, she is trying to placate like the Shia vote bank. Sure, that there's some element of truth to that, but the greater truth is actually India has genuine interest in that country, right? Our it is our pathway into Afghanistan. It is our pathway into the various Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, the various stan nations, right? It is our pathway into Russia. Uh, the stability along the Hormuz Strait is key to India because 90% of India's energy comes through that.
Yeah.
We have a huge diaspora population, actually larger than any other country in the world, that resides in that region. So we have genuine interest in peace. We have genuine interest in maintaining good relationship with either the current regime or the next regime, right? So um, uh, I don't think that can be discounted.
See, the reason I brought this up,
Okay.
let me just
Okay.
reply this.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Hold on, Anand.
Sure, sure.
We have Rishabh here. Rishabh.
Yes, hi everyone. So yeah,
Yeah.
by and large, I agree with what Munshida is saying.
Hmm.
See, when I personally, I feel that all this talk about our great relationship with Iran is overblown. Not that that is the point that Munshida was saying, but just because there's been such a huge amount of irritating discussion about, oh, Iran is such a close friend of India and so on and so forth. No, they're not really. I mean, frankly,
Okay.
there is a lot of
Okay.
words, not a lot.
Okay.
Hmm.
Let me ask you a few questions actually because it is interesting for me. So,
Hmm.
uh, like first of all, correct, when we talk about correct, like country to country relationship, okay, generally us as commoners, like if you read some books or read some papers or see some videos or other things, you will have an idea that country to country relationships are very complex in nature and they evolve over time, over months, over weeks. Okay. So the
Hmm.
simple example is I want to give here that Khomeini was killed in Israeli airstrikes. Okay. And government of India did not officially release any like press note from MEA or from other departments that we are sorry that he has died. So that shows you that country to relationships evolve within days, weeks, and months. So generally, like mine and your assessment would be very, very, very off the target in terms of what actually happens, what actually is happening, and what may happen. So we are going to talk about our own perceptions created by the state itself, the media that we consume. Correct. whether it is Iranian media, whether it's Israeli media, whether it's Indian media or other media, it is going to be their manufacturing process, and it is shaping our perspective, the commoners. Okay. So I want to ask you a few questions because you belong to finance sector, finance. Because we are here talking about common person. Is common person affected by this war? If yes, how? And if not, then like, do you give credit to the government of India for last since 2014, what they have done to actually insulate the Indian economy, its people, from this turmoil which is happening?
Yeah, okay. So one clarification. Actually, what I do does not have a lot to do with finance, but I have done an MBA in finance. So partially, maybe I can answer. It's just one of those things that my career took me in a completely different trajectory. I'm more in strategy consulting. But okay, so not just in 2014, from 2014 to be very honest, even pre 2014, I think it's been a very strategic and a very continuous move by the various governments of India going back to the post 1970 70s oil shocks to making sure that our country does not get or the effect that our country has like global economic shocks is minimized. Now it took they reached earlier what used to
Okay,
happen was the way that they reached this end goal
okay, hold on.
was very.
Okay, hold on.
Mhm,
Hold on. So let's do bit structure. So I'm going
hmm,
to define, let's say, 20 post 2014 India's
hmm,
relationship with the West Asia. So for us, it's West Asia. Not Middle East is for the US perspective. So that's why I named the program West
hmm,
Asia. From
hmm,
the Indian perspective, it is West Asia, not Middle East. Middle East is the
hmm.
Western perspective. So from the
Right.
to post 2014 India versus the West Asia relationships, and pre
Hmm.
2014. So how I would say my opinion is that it was rather a kind of like say a reactive policy India was having prior to 2014, but after 2014, it was an active and strategic engagement which happened only post 2014. Go ahead.
Yes, totally agree with that statement. So, broadly speaking, I think pre 2014, India used to treat West Asian nations the same way that it treated, or still in some way still treats Muslims within India, wherein there was really not a lot of agency that was ascribed to these people, and you know what CSK calls the whatever of low expectations things that was going on with those countries, even as they were rapidly developing and growing in their financial capabilities. The governments in India always looked at these places as tax havens, shelters for terrorists, and stuff like that. So there was no effort made to actively engage them, and saying that oh they would always be supporting Pakistan on all major issues was something that was considered a huge fait accompli, and not without reason, but because in the past, that is what the messaging from West Asia typically was. What changed after 2014 was we started reaching out to these countries to find avenues of growth, and initially it was very very business like very transactional, wherein we found ways where we could get them to invest in us. We found ways where we could maybe further their own economic development. And over the past 10 years, it has grown, I think, much faster than anyone anticipated, culminating in what we call the IMEC, India, Middle East, Europe Economic
IMAC,
Corridor,
IMAC
IMEC.
rather, IMAC.
Yes, which is once it gets fully operational, is going to completely transform India West Asian trade. And yes, totally agree with your point that it has become much more proactive, and people have, or rather, the Indian bureaucracy has started seeing West Asia in a very different light, wherein they are being seen as agents of good in the region, agents of stability in the region, where previously they were just seen as initially they were just seen as Western puppets, American puppets, which they technically kind of sort of are. Very complex situation there vis-a-vis that, but also they were seen as Islamic countries, not really considering their geographies, not really considering their individual nationalist tendencies, needs, requirements, or convergences with our own security concern. Now, another important thing that has happened in West Asia, which pulled them closer towards India, was that this realization dawned on them somewhere around the late 20s, early 2000s, that the oil wealth will run out one day, so we have to diversify. So that is when you started seeing all the push that first started with the Emirates of diversifying your streams of income, making Dubai or Abu Dhabi major centers of the financial world, and secularizing, making it easier for people to move in, improving law and order, creating a community of expats within their own cities, which then was followed by Doha, Bahrain, to a lesser extent by Saudi Arabia. Oman, before 2014, really by and large used to be the only country that was sort of kind of friendly towards India, and silently was actually the mediator in these initial conversations that we had a decade ago. Uh, but today, yeah, our I think our strongest relationship in the Middle East is with the Emirates, followed by the Saudis.
Got it. Yeah. So now last question to you. That would be that as an Indian, okay, do
Mhm.
you what is your perception of like in terms of economic, in terms of stability? Do you like how do you rate Indian diplomacy, Indian also in terms of economy? Because oil is a very big factor in terms of economic growth and also your inflation part. How do you would
Uh-huh.
be rate Indian government what they have done?
Okay, so I think there's a very strong metric for it that I use, and it's a back of the envelope, but a very good shorthand that you can use. Your economic growth rate is your marks out of 10, and if you cross 10%, then it's automatically 10. Okay, so right now, if it's growing at 7.2, I would rate it 7.2, maybe a little less than 7.2, but in and around that. And the reasoning for that is very simple. There are a lot of things that growth is happening despite of, but there are a lot of, so let's break it down. Okay, let's start with the economic front. Number one, see, uh, Narendra Modi didn't just come in, flip a switch, and everyone started to invest in India. He actually, one of the most important underrated things that he did, and maybe you will remember this was actually a criticism of him back in the day, that he's often abroad. He's just on world trips. If you remember that criticism that used to
Mhm.
happen before 2019, in the run up to 2019 elections. So what he did was, just like when he was chief minister of Gujarat, he went to a lot of strategically important countries, and then he started laying a groundwork for a new paradigm with which they could deal with India. And they were like very frank, from what I've understood. I mean, I don't have any information, but from what I've seen in statements and stuff, they were very frank that, hey, listen, this is what our USP is. We are not just a market. Like what the Congress used to be, was used to say was, hey, listen, we have this huge middle class market. Come here, sell your stuff here, and you can make a lot of money, and we can have a lot of consumption in India, which will fuel our growth. They never really focused on actually producing anything in India. What Narendra Modi did instead was saying, "Hey, listen, we have this huge population, which is which is very varied, right? We have skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled laborers as per your need. Come in. Our input costs are going to be lower over here. Our labor costs are going to be low over here. Come in, manufacture over here, and then manufacture for your countries. If you try to manufacture it in your country, it's going to be untenable for you, and you need to diversify away from China. For a long time, this was not working too well, to be honest. Till 2017, 18, it was not really working too well. Started picking up after that, and of course, post COVID and everything, it really took off massively in very important sectors such as electronics, semiconductors, stuff like that. Hardcore manufacturing is still somewhere where we can do much better. So maybe that's why I'll take off maybe 1% from 7.2 and maybe give it a 6 or 6.2. But by and large, we are doing good. And see, I am of the firm belief there's this thing that keeps on happening. Like India has missed the bus for manufacturing. India has missed the bus for manufacturing. It's gone to China. It's gone to Vietnam. It's gone to here. It's gone to there. Hey, it's not your board exam that you can only take once in your life. You set up the right infrastructure. You set up the right incentive structures. Manufacturing will come. Even if you don't beat China overnight, over a period of 25 years, you will have a solid enough industrial base. And the one thing that India offers, which China does not offer, which I think they explained it very well, was you can make in India, sell in India, and sell abroad. In China, what they do is they really don't sell to China as much as they manufacture just for exports, which makes China also very vulnerable to stocks in the global market. India, on the other hand, becomes resilient because we have our own consumption internally as well as externally. Now, don't get me wrong, this does not mean that China's consumption is low. No, compared to India, China's consumption internally also is pretty high. But as a percentage of Chinese manufacturing, the lion's share is taken by exports, which up until now at least is not true for India. And this ties into the earlier point that I was making, like the difference between how India in the Indian economy was being shielded from global shocks pre 2014, or let's be honest, pre 2000s, was by and large by secluding us, protectionism, and all of those measures, which did work when we had shocks, but then again, when periods of growth came, we were left out of those as well. So we were protected from 2008, but we did not see the pre 2008 boom as much as well. Now, what we are doing is we are focusing our manufacturing also in such a way that it doesn't go out of hand and it doesn't disproportionately get affected by how the world, how the global economy or economies of the countries that we're selling to get affected. One sector where this is going to become a massive concern in the future is our IT services, because IT services, by and large, is outwards looking, export oriented. So every time there is a downturn in the Western market, more specifically the American market, our IT sector is going to take a hit. Uh, Now, this is something that the IT sector will have to course correct for in the future. Either you diversify to other less lucrative markets, but where your revenue keeps coming, or you start looking inwards and start seeing how you can solve Indian problems instead of just doing SaaS for the US.
Okay, thank you. And what do you think in terms of the fuel prices? Are you expecting
Hmm.
that India is going to maintain its fuel supply because they have diversified in South America, Russians, Africans. So, like, if you ask me, what they
Hmm.
have done, so because I keep a track of few things. So, India right now has agreements with the South American nations who have oil. India has
Hmm.
agreements with the Russians who have oil. India
Hmm.
has agreements with the African nations who have oil. So Strait of Hormuz, if it gets bogged down, India has an alternate source of supply of energy, which was
Hmm.
done a lot for last 10 years. So
Hmm.
like that shows in terms of the thinking that they have in terms of uh, creating buffers and creating alternatives, because
No,
you never know what
Bhupenda, we
happens.
don't have to worry. Yeah, Bhupenda, we don't have to worry. The US has given us permission to import Russian oil. Like, we don't have to worry.
Thank you, Trump Sahib. Thank you.
Yes. No, yeah, I
Okay.
think yes, they've diversified beyond Russia. I don't know. I mean, South America, Nigeria,
No, no,
Ethiopia.
no, no.
Very
Yeah,
good
yeah,
that we've.
yeah.
Yeah, no, very good if we have signed all of these things. I don't know. how the logistics chain is set up, how the value and supply chains are set up. I don't know if they have that kind of extraction and refining capabilities. They do very good.
Africa,
If
Africa already they have. Africa, we are buying oil. We are actually once you talk,
okay.
let me share how much we are buying from other countries. Anyway, you have any other points you want to make on the conflict which is has the theme with Israel and Iran and US and the whole in
le-
West Asia.
yeah, I think yeah, let them fight. I mean, I will be honest. Yeah, it's on a human level, it's a sad thing that's happening. If I take away my emotions, and I feel sad that people are dying irrespective of where they are in the world. But if you take away the human aspect of it, bhai, very frankly, you keep supporting Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, supporting terrorism in your region. Someday you'll have to pay your dues now. You're paying your dues. Unfortunately for the people, they are also suffering because of it. Unfortunately, because the Gulf Arab kingdoms did not want to arm their own people because they thought that what happened in Egypt and Iraq and Syria would happen with their monarchies. They outsourced their defense to the US, and they are and so the US has its own priorities, which is Israel. So they are trying to defend them as much as they can. I believe beyond that, they're not being able to do it. But at a geopolitical level, I think it's a good thing that out of all this chaos, an Iran comes up, even if it's Islamic, if an Iran comes up that can actually engage with the world, it's going to be better for us. It will make Chabahar a less of a headache, at least for non-covert things. Uh, uh, so I think that's a good thing, and maybe we can piggyback on whatever redevelopment stuff the US does in Iran to gain some more leverage over there, just like we did with Afghanistan. So at a purely calculative level, whichever regime comes in Iran, their geographic realities will remain the same. See, people always keep giving all of these examples. I say one thing. See, during the Cold War, the Soviet Union was a communist dictatorship. Okay, after the Cold War, Russia became a presidential republic, just like the United States, a presidential republic. They are still rivals. Geographic realities will remain geographic realities. It does not matter what the nature of your government is. It matters more what the nature of your state is and who your neighbors are. Many of the problems that persist in West Asia today will continue to persist in West Asia going forward unless there is some significant changes in the borders that were set up over there. if if the Iranian state breaks and if there is a power vacuum, like Anand has said, I agree that fundamentalism will take up over there. You might see a Shia version of ISIS come up, which is going to destabilize the region, and it may cause us a lot of harm within our borders, or at least they may try to within our borders as well. So there is a best case scenario, there's a normal state scenario, there's a worst case scenario. What will happen is anyone's guess. I don't think I thought they will do another Maduro, but it's not looking like that. So at this point, I don't know.
Yeah, so here is your data. So
Hmm.
at worst we will have 50% of our oil supply is not from state of Hormuz. So
Okay,
and with agreements with Canada, like now we have a very good
Canada,
position with
yes.
Canada as well as Venezuela and
Mm.
Russians. So you are looking at a not so rosy picture, but not where you will have empty pumps.
Yeah,
So
I
so
mean,
that's good.
whatever said and
yeah.
done, like New Delhi will definitely come out on top, right? Whatever said and done, the US will still come out as a diminished power. There are clear winners and losers in this, right? China is a clear winner. Will be a clear winner. Uh, Washington will not be a winner out of this. Neither will Iran be a winner out of this. Now, if I were to look at
Munshida,
past,
can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
go ahead.
how would China come out as a winner? I think one of the main reasons why the US is doing this is to first they did this with Venezuela and now they're doing it with Iran. I think one of the reasons why they're doing this is to try to create leverage against China, saying, "Hey, if you can block our semiconductors, we can block your oil." So, how
Mm,
will China in the long run come out a winner if the mullah regime is toppled by any way?
So I think this is a fundamental misunderstanding in the West and
Mhm,
especially among Western analysts, right? So what they um, so there's a American way of looking at alliances and there's a Chinese way of looking at alliances. They look at
mhm,
Chinese sort of soft commitments in Venezuela and Iran as an alliance. Uh, China doesn't see it that way, right? Like China is very clear about what it wants and what it gives, right? So in the sense like
mhm,
when it came to Venezuela, China never promised that, oh, we'll come and protect you or do anything
mhm,
for you in the US. Now, there's a historical basis to this as well, right? So China, uh, the thing about Chinese diplomacy is that it's one of the interests of Chinese alliance making is to glorify the Chinese state, right, or the Chinese empire, or like, if you were to look at the past, right, it's not to basically like uh, build defensive relationships like the US does. So, uh, sure, you toppled the Maduro regime, which was pro Chinese and China friendly. That's okay. China will work with the newer regime, right? They'll still make good deals with the newer regime. It still has leverages to do so. Uh, it will do the same thing in Iran too, right? You can topple one regime, you can install another one, but the thing is like you simply cannot avoid making business with China. India is also in the same position. Now, why is US a loser here? Now, one is that they have essentially gone about damaging a lot of their relations. They've essentially damaged their capacity and capability, right? Like Patriots are supposed to be really good, but yet like facilities in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, Qatar, Bahrain were all attacked, right? US power did not protect those countries from getting attacked. It still hasn't opened up the Strait of Hormuz for shipping their material out, right? So uh, there is a diminished sense of US power projection and what comes with and a sense of like the capacity of the US to defend or abide by its defense treaties. So uh, that's where I'm coming from, right? Now, there are other ways to also look at this as well, right? So, what is China's primary interest? It's not oil, right? It does not want to maintain these its diplomatic relationships and turn it into like alliance against the US or anything like that. China's first and primary interest is to break out of the first island chain. If the US is distracted in the Middle East and it's using all its like stockpile precision weapons and air power and naval resources against Iran, then that means there are less forces along the South China Sea. There's less pressure on China on that region, right? The US has less stuff to throw about on China. So there are multiple ways in which this conflict works in the favor of China, right? And similarly, there are multiple ways in which this conflict actually also works in the favor of India. Now, if I were to go to the recent past, every time oil prices goes above 70 or $80 per barrel, uh, India benefits, right? Because India can process. India is it's a refining superpower, right? And it doesn't refine just for itself; it refines for the rest of the world. It exports more than China does when it comes to refining refined oil products, right? And our refineries are pretty flexible. Uh, again, because
Shastri,
mm,
just one caveat on this. So China exports less refined oil to other regions because they consume more. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
India exporting more doesn't mean it is consuming more. It is
No,
because it doesn't have the capacity to
no,
consume that
no,
much.
no, no, no. We do both, right? We
No, no,
consume quite a
no. I
lot.
am no, no. I am saying in terms of economic scale of the industrial base China has. China naturally would be exporting less because it has a industrial base to consume more compared to India. That
Y-
aspect.
Sure, you can make that argument, right? But when I look at oil statistics,
Hmm.
India is the second largest consumer in the world. You cannot cough that,
Yes, yes.
right? It's more
Yeah,
than
no,
the US
absolutely
does,
fine.
right?
Hmm.
But it also exports way more than other countries do, including the US. The US actually produces a lot of refined petroleum products, right? I think you simply cannot dismiss the fact that India is a refining superpower, and
Yes, it
China
is
does
a
not.
refining superpower. No question about it.
I mean, and China does not export because it consumes as much. If China wanted to export, it can. Um, it has the capacity to do so, but it doesn't. For whatever reason, right? You, I mean, you have to basically ask people in Beijing why you're not exporting, right? It would be another revenue source for them. But that's
They
a
are
question.
exporting finish. They are exporting finished products. Like they are using the oil to like power their engine of manufacturing.
I
That's
mean,
why.
you see, they also export steel. That's not a
Yeah.
finished product, right? And they look at steel in the same in a very strategic way, right? If I bring down steel prices all over the world, that would destroy steel production capacity all over the world.
Yeah, but steel is a kind of correct. Steel is a capital goods. Like it takes
US
a
right
lot of
now,
technology to
most
produce
Europe
steel.
have lost their steel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm saying that like
It takes
exporting
us.
steel,
It takes.
exporting steel is still a high-end product.
No, it's not high
Like
end. It's not high end. Like, I mean, uh, refined petroleum products is also quite high end, to be honest, right? I mean, there's a lot of technology that goes into that.
yeah,
There's a
absolutely.
lot of research that goes into it. Um, but I think it's just that China doesn't see oil as strategic as, say, it sees steel, right? Otherwise, it would have been on a massive subsidize and export spree like it did with steel. Maybe that could be the answer to your question, right? But it has the capacity. It doesn't do so. But
Um,
nonetheless,
One
uh,
more thing with steel in China is that, a little bit is also something that they have to do because China has massively overproduced steel. So they also do need to dump it because steel has actually become so cheap in China that it is no longer profitable to produce. So they have to keep dumping their steel outside to keep their steel industry viable. And it all ties into their infrastructure and real estate bubble right now. Demand of steel in China is actually falling for
no,
domestic consumption.
I'm saying that's a secondary effect, right? The
Hmm. Yeah.
primary intent was basically strategic.
Yep. I
China
agree.
outproduced steel in such massive volumes out of a strategic intent to basically destroy the steel industry in the rest of the world. It has succeeded to some significant effect. It could do so with refined petroleum products. But coming back to my main point, right? India's flexible refineries means that we can consume oil products from the rest of the world. If the Middle Eastern oil is not reaching India, that means that oil is not going onto the world markets, right? If Russian oil, Venezuelan oil, Guyanese oil, Nigerian oil is reaching Indian refineries, that means India can basically process them and export them to the rest of the world. That means that, you know, our refineries will earn a ton of money. They'll also earn a ton of foreign exchange that can um, balance our trade deficits, which has reduced quite a bit. Um, and the government of India can just, it can mint money. Like
And
it
one
does
more thing,
mean
one more.
money, right? So
Can
so
Yeah,
I?
what?
one
Can
more
I?
thing.
Let
Okay,
me just
hold
finish
on.
one
I'll
last
make.
thing. Let me just
Yeah, yeah.
finish one
Go ahead.
last
Go ahead.
thing, right?
Go ahead.
So when the Ukraine conflict started, government of India did not subsidize or reduce petrol prices. They kept them the same. They kept the tax rate the same, and they used that revenue to basically spend domestically on building more and more infrastructure. Right, the government of India revenues basically had a huge windfall. So I suspect the Modi government would basically do the same thing, right? We are in a slightly deflationary cycle, right? Like our inflation is lower than what RBI's targets are. It has this room to basically go like, okay, 1-2% or inflation महंगाई बढ़ने दे, and then we'll rake in the revenues. We'll put the economy in a positive cycle, and we'll tackle the disinflation. I mean, there's just lots of wins in just dealing
Yeah,
with
see,
it.
actually, what I was okay. I make one more point, and then we'll go back to Anand. So, like, actually, I was doing some calculations. Correct. So, your petrol price cost is about, let's say, 20-30 rupees approximate. Okay, your 1 liter of petrol in actual cost is about 30 rupees. You are paying 100 rupees on the pump, so 70 rupees is your state and other taxes. So this external thing which is happening now, correct, now with cheap Russian oil and other things coming in, your foreign policy is influencing your internal politics itself, in terms of the money which is made in like fuel sales goes into Ladki Behna and all the other welfare schemes. Basically, people don't realize that out of 100 rupees of price you pay for your fuel, 70 rupees goes to taxes and most goes to center, less goes to states. So a lot bulk of the welfare schemes which are being done by government of India and others, they are primarily funded a large extent by this petrol windfall tax, which people have like don't factor in. So your foreign policy is also impacting your internal politics itself. Yeah, go ahead, Anand.
See, I have a different perspective completely.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, this is not about Indian fuel consumption. Let's be honest. We are not a major, while we may have some amount of domestic consumption, we are not a major player in the world economy. Okay, we are not. The problem here is going to be when fuel doesn't get to all the economies of the world. And then they are suffering from fuel access, including China. Their economies will get affected. And because when their
We lost Anand.
Anand, we lost you.
He just got censored by the deep state.
Modi ji didn't like his comment.
I think it
Pol
was,
mat kholo.
I think it was Karnataka state mandated blackouts. You know,
Yeah, Anand, you are here. We can see you.
no, the problem is fundamental. Like I think I know what happened. So just skip me. So no, so my point is very simple. Okay, the world economy is highly dependent on fuel. It just is. It just that's just the reality of and the Gulf has been producing most of the fuel of the world. Russia has not been producing it. Venezuela has not been producing it. US does not produce it. It's producing only for itself. It keeps all the money, all the fuel for itself. When the world, for example, we signed a free trade deal with Europe, right? Europe needs oil as well. Europe will not get its oil, so it will affect our free trade deal with Europe again. We just signed a free trade deal with the UAE, like one of the most important partners we're going to have. Large amounts of food that we export to the UAE. We provide a lot of food stuff to them. That will affect the exports of our farmers who are going to export to the UAE, right? They get affected. My point is that it's going to affect the world economy, is going to affect us. Our point should be very simple. Our point should be fine, and Iran is going to get balkanized. That's just the reality. That's the only way this fight slows down or gets calmed down or whatever. They're going to cut that country into pieces. That's what I'm saying. We should stop. We should release this idea of it being a civilization state right now itself. Prepare yourself for it. It's going to be multiple nation states, each controlled by unique ethnicities. And the government of India and Indian producers start thinking about how do we relate to each of those groups. How do we relate to the Balochis in the east? How do we relate to with the Persians in the center? How do we relate with the Kurds in the northwest? Start building connections now before the war ends. How can we help you? How can we help you to stabilize the situation in that region? What kind of food, what kind of goods can we sell to you right now? You're having difficulty. The US is not stopping to enjoy the war economy. We should not do the same. This problem is this moral standing on a pedestal saying we are good people. No, bloody don't care for people. We need to be merchants of death. People are getting killed. What can we provide you? Can we provide you food supplies? Can we provide you medical equipment? Can we provide you something? You need to start thinking like that. Stop thinking this. The problem with my country, with my issue with our foreign policy is we talk from moral framework. I know maybe in the back end they're doing all kinds of stuff, but it doesn't signal to the population to get getting prepared for this war to go long term. The businessman, every businessman can't say, "Oh, I've got contact with the government, so I will do some work. I go look in Iran, look for what opportunities I have." And not every businessman is connected to the government, right? So you need to put out that idea that this is what we're preparing for. We're preparing for balkanization of Iran. Maybe not not the MEA, but maybe through other ministries, maybe through commerce ministries. So talk about that. Start preparing for the new reality of UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, right? Because now the war is going to attack a lot of the businesses that employed Indian workers. Are going to be like, I can't employ so many workers. It's going to be expensive to pay them, so I'll send them back. We're going to have a flood of immigrants coming back saying we have no job. What are you going to do about them? Like there are a lot of unforeseen circumstances. Oil it matters only to a certain extent, right? And Munshi is right. We have a deflated economy, and we have a deflated economy because no one's building anything it's beyond the military, the what do you call it? Some of the new military PSUs. No one's building anything fundamental to the country. The government is to pump in large amounts of money. That's the problem, right? We have, take the tourist economy. What have we done to my biggest problem with the last budget was they didn't talk about tourism the way I was experiencing them talk about tourism, because that's one of the biggest amounts of money we can make from the economy. There are
take France, correct? France, Thailand, correct?
Yeah.
How much money they
every country, forget about France, even Egypt has done a better job of highlighting the tourist economy that we have done. And Egypt is like a fucking third world state, like proper third world state. Like I'm really upset with the amount of disinterest that the Indian government has in their tourism. They're disinterested. They're fundamentally disinterested. My belief is they don't care about it.
I disagree with this analysis. Now here's the thing, right? We've had oil prices go up to $120 per barrel, and we've survived that and sustained that for about 2 years, right? Even with the current Iran war premium, nobody is expecting oil prices to go above 110 a barrel. And 105, 110 a barrel is not going to bring a shock into the global economy either. Now, India's deflation has nothing to do. I think it's been quite productive, to be honest, right? It's produced quite a lot of goods. There's quite a high quality growth, right? Now, the deflation has been twofold. One is excessive agricultural output, and the other one has been a crash in oil prices. In the past year, you had oil prices crash from a high of 115 or something like that to about like $50. It's literally a halving of oil prices. Of course, you're going to have a deflationary effect on your own economy because oil's become cheap, right? So those were the two things that basically led down the path of deflation in India. But I mean, deflation is also a strong term to be used, if I were to be precise. But I'd say disinflation is a better term, right? Because we have not seen like drop in prices across the board in India, right? It's not a deflation.
It's not deflation, it's just low inflation.
It's not that. I think you missed my point. My point is not about the disinflation of the economy. My point is there are a lot of consequences to the oil supply problems that are beyond just the oil price. The oil price may be fine. The common person in India may not be affected by it. But the problem is, a lot of people, the businesses in the world will be affected by it, and they will consequently have an effect on our economy, even though we are a
Uh,
large domestic economy,
I,
right?
I, I, I
Secondly,
I disagree again because it's like
I don't. I think they're going to have a
no,
horrible
I think
situation,
I strongly disagree because it's
and we
like
need to be preparing for it.
the business cycle in the past couple of years has adjusted to a lot of chaos. They're making more short-term contracts rather than long-term contracts, right? There's like it's become much more resilient than people give it credit for. Uh,
No, I'm not about resiliency. I'm talking about Indian growth. See, the problem you're mixing up temporary, short-term, like management of the economy that India will manage.
no, I think
So
Indian
long-term growth.
yeah,
My problem is going to affect long-term growth.
I don't think so.
Think about it. When you do short-term contracts, you don't do investments for long-term infrastructure growth in India. What is
No,
the problem in India? The problem is the government is to invest in everything. The
I,
private economy is not investing in long-term infrastructure and success of the country.
no,
That's the problem. How we make
no,
it even more the American the so-called foreign investors like I'm not interested.
no.
There's
I
no
think
there's no
I
I
think
have to worry about my money, right?
I think you're mistaking the data itself, right? Long-term growth is pretty steady. Even medium-term growth is pretty
No, man,
steady.
I have observed
Um,
my market is my investments are related to fundamental parts of the economy, not about this financial fiscal temporary changes. And those have taken a hit. I'm sorry, they just have.
I do the
There's a
same
lot of
kind of
there's a lot of what do you call it, negativity in the market for long-term investors. I'm sorry, this is a reality. I don't
I
want to say I don't want to throw water on the hot like cheers and stuff. But unfortunately, that's the reality, and the Indian government needs to start thinking about it. They can
I
no, I will enjoy the short-term benefits, and some companies that I am connected to, or the government is investing, and it's enough.
I think you need to relook your investment strategy because I made 11% on the same fundamentals, right? So
For me,
I
I
think
was making no, I was making 18-20% on before all this nonsense started in this tariff and this thing. Now it's
I,
down to now it's 11%. Now it's 11-12%. But that's a significant deflation reduction from 20% to 12%. There is a significant cooling down in that
I
investment.
I think like 18.
Infrastructure, pharmaceuticals, or engineering goods. Those are fundamental things for a long-term growth of a country, and that's
Okay,
getting.
I think it's
just
still in a good trajectory growth, right? There's some
Okay,
real
Rishabh, go
high
ahead.
quality growth, but
an
For our
important
country,
thing to
not for our country.
important
It's
thing
for
to note over
middle
here.
income country, not for us.
One important thing to note over here specifically, Anand and Munshi, just correct me if my understanding is wrong. You're talking about your stock slash mutual fund slash equity investments, right? See,
yeah,
uh,
and I don't treat that as a barometer of the broader economy.
No, I
Manufacturing.
don't
yeah,
invest in
see,
the temporary stuff. No, I'm just in the long-term stuff. My investments are for like
okay.
20 years. That's my focus.
uh, be that as it may, see, now there's a fundamental disconnect in terms of valuations of stocks, which flows down from valuations of companies, which takes a lot of different things into account, not just your present day fundamentals of the company, which is their P&L, their income statement, their balance sheet, their free cash flow. I'm just getting a little technical for a second, excuse me, but this is a point that has to be made. So see now how a company technically should be valued is you take a multiple of your company's free cash flow, you calculate that from your cash flow statement and your income statement, and then you add a multiplier to it based on your future projection of growth, which happens where you start with macro trends and then you break it down into the sector or the industry of the company that you want to invest in. And then that is how you make a forward looking projection, right? Now, what normally happens over here is people typically do a back of the envelope calculation. They see, okay, let's take 3 or 4 different companies in the same sector, average out their forward looking projection, and you see that that's the projected growth of that sector. Now, all of those things become very sensitive to broader market, broader geopolitical considerations. Company valuations per se are
No, I'm
not
not. I'm
just
going off
a
topic.
factor of their accounting fundamentals and financials at present. That being
No, no.
said,
Hold on, we're
to
going off
edit,
topic. I'm not talking about company
eh,
valuations. I'm talking about sectoral growth. Like you see, one company can be valued incorrectly. Two companies can be valued incorrectly. Like even five companies can be valued incorrectly. But if the entire sector is deflating from what it was achieving earlier, then there's a concern. You have to be concerned about it, and you have to understand certain
Could you give me an example?
pharmaceuticals, for example. We are having
That's all.
significant reduction in value. Engineering goods.
Pharmaceutical is again driven by oil prices. That's what
That's
I'm
my
telling you.
point. My point is, our large amounts of our growth
No.
will be in the future
No.
will be both based on pharmaceuticals, medical goods,
Your
engineering
inputs,
goods, high
your im-
high value targets.
no, your inputs have basically reduced by 50%.
Yeah.
Your
And
biggest
also,
inputs have basically reduced by 50%.
yeah,
That is what has happened
exactly.
in the past year. See, this is what when I said that oil prices came from a high of 115 to about $50 a barrel. Of course, you're going to see some form of disinflation in the pharmaceutical industry because their primary input is basically refined petroleum products.
No,
Also,
but
one important thing to notice,
right? The demand for pharmaceuticals doesn't just suddenly change overnight. You see, your
no,
profit should
it's
be
not about
more.
demand. Anand, it's
Demand is
not about
stable. Demand
demand
has
is
been
stable.
stable.
Exactly. And
Demand has been stable.
I think demand has gone
try
down.
to understand this. See, valuations now, if your input costs are high, automatically your output valuation also increases. And on top of that, there is this added factor of when the global economy is stable, valuations themselves become overpriced. So right now, the Indian stock market has been going through a period of massive overinflation of valuations. Yeah, I mean,
Okay,
and the IT sector, for example, is was the worst of it. It was trading at like a 30 multiple at one point, which was an insane figure. So
that's why I'm
that
not talking about IT sector. I didn't mention the IT sector even once because I'm not even
I
talking
mean,
about the
that's my example. I,
ones.
I, So sure, I am using it as an example, and it is
Hmm.
true. It is also true for the pharmaceutical sector. It was trading at a very high multiple. The Indian stock market itself was overpriced. If you want to see actually what the nuts and bolts are, I would recommend you look at the PMI, the Purchase Managers Index of a sector, which is a very good indicator of how many units of their input goods are being consumed in any given month by a particular industry, by a particular sector. So that is a much more fundamental nut and bolt indicator of long-term economic growth and whether or
Okay.
not a company is looking at the future in a positive or a negative way. So, see, valuation, mein, honestly, also what happens is in the one of the reasons why the Indian stock market has become so overinflated has also been extremely fast rise in the number of people investing in the stock market. Also domestically, like there was this 3 4 month period last year where Indian retail investors putting money into the market was outpacing
Yeah,
foreign
yeah.
FPIs that were taking money out of the market. So this is also a trend that has gone unnoticed, but a lot of these things do create, you know, distortions in the stock price of a company or the valuation of a sector or the Indian stock economy as a whole, the market capitalization as a whole, if you want to use the correct term,
No, I get
versus the
all this. I agree with.
actual.
I'm not all this. I'm aware of. I'm aware of all of this
Mhm,
stuff. My point is
mhm,
not. My disagreement is not. My point is that we have to start because I'm telling you, just the oil, just focusing on oil prices would be a short-term thought.
mhm.
My opinion. My opinion is
Yeah,
use
true.
this use this time to say we have to restructure our economy fundamentally because we cannot go on the way we are going on right now and say, oh, we'll get a windfall of oil prices, we get a windfall of Russian oil, we will somehow manage. No, we need to change. We need to do exactly what the Gulf states are going to do in the next 5 years. They're going to restructure the
Mhm.
entire system because they know exactly what's going to happen next time they have the conflict over there. We need to start thinking, what are we going to do to restructure our system? Now, and for example, you have to start reducing the number of people who are in agriculture. The idea, you think about it. India was a golden bird when agriculture was not such a large part of our economy. We are still sitting in that
Uh-huh.
same nonsensical this socialist paradigm where agriculture is the most important thing. Oh, let's talk about agriculture 24/7. Agriculture should be a niche sector in India with high productivity among limited people, and they'll be their personal growth will be higher. The problem is everyone is poor and everyone wants to be in agriculture.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree
So
with
I
you.
will.
Incentive structures are skewed that way. Yeah.
I
So
I
Okay.
I agree
certainly
with you on the
I
forward
I
looking part.
I certainly don't think that this is like a black swan event that India has to primarily restructure the
I think they
entire
should.
economy. I I
No,
don't think so.
I think India needs to restructure the economy, not because it's a black swan event, but
Not
more because that is a pressing fundamental issue.
no
Not because of what's
yeah,
happening in West Asia,
not
but
yeah not
generally.
yeah yeah the see that's what I'm trying to say, right? Iran will have very little impact on India's economy,
Yeah.
right? It will not, right?
But
And
tell me
it
what will
won't
happen to all those workers in the Middle East? Where are they going to go if that place
uh,
gets untenable for work? Where are they going to go?
India's not going to take them back. Neither is the
What do
Gulf
you mean they're not
states
going to take
going to
them?
send them back, right? Neither are the Gulf states going to send them back, right? So I think this there will be a sudden. I'll put it this way: uh, Gulf states will see their growth suffer for a quarter, but not beyond that. They have other fundamental issues. Actually, that's the other problem, right? So what will end up happening is, like, let's say this goes on for 2 months, you might see oil prices maybe go up to maybe 95 100 per barrel, right? But everybody else will benefit from it. Gulf states will have a whole glut of production that or products that they have to deal with, right? And then once they are able to go back into the market, they'll flood the market with their product. Prices will crash again, right? And they have to deal with the crashing prices, but it won't impact the Indian economy, right? What might end up happening is that um, uh, we'll benefit from both high and also low oil prices. What the MEA might start doing is that they'll start going up to the Gulf state and saying that, hey, you know what? We spoke about that IMEC thing, right? Transporting goods by rail and road and building a corridor in the Middle East, a land corridor in the Middle East that goes through Israel into Europe. Let's work on that. Let's double down the efforts on that, right? And then they'll Gulf states won't what do you call that? They won't work on their own. Their citizens won't work on these kinds of hard infrastructure projects. They are used to working on the field. They'll import Indian labor to basically do that.
See, I
So
don't know if the IMX is going to happen anymore.
and that it's definitely going to happen, right?
IMEX a 25-year long project. It's not going to evaporate because of this war.
No,
No,
I'm talking.
but I
I'm
think
looking at
it's
fundamental changes in the Middle Eastern
no.
sensitivities.
I think
Doesn't
it will,
change them.
no. What I mean is this the what Iran's doing would give it a certain sense of urgency and impetus. Now, um, I don't think it's 25 years away. It's more like 15 years away in my books. The UAE has already done some work. They have actually built a rail line to the Saudi border. Uh, the Bahrainis have done the same thing. Qataris have done the same thing. It's only and Jordanians have actually started the work on their side. It's only the Saudis that basically needs to get on with it. And they've been slow. They want to
That's the
do it.
biggest
No,
obstruction,
no,
biggest part of the entire corridor.
right. They have been slow. I'm not saying they're disinterested. They've been slow, right? They've been slow in doing land surveys. They've actually started doing geotechnical surveys already, but they've been very slow about it because the prince, the current crown prince, prefers flashy projects over infrastructure. That's a difference of priority. It's not a difference of worldview or ideology. Now, what with this happening, and with Saudi oil is basically on the east side of Saudi Arabia. It's not on the west side, right? All their refining and all their production and extraction facilities are on the east side. So with that, not providing the revenue it does, the Saudi prince will probably revisit it and basically say, okay, maybe we need to double down on resilient infrastructure and ensure that our products can get out despite the Strait of Hormuz being blocked. So,
Okay, let me
so
ask you a more fundamental question. And
hmm,
in this battle, or in this battle, it's battle, not a really a war. In this battle, who's going to come out on top? US or Iran?
see, if the regime survives,
So
right?
that's what I'm asking you. Will it survive? Will the regime survive?
Right. So the only thing Iran needs to do is just survive. That
That's
is
my question.
easy.
Will they survive?
That is easy.
How will they survive? Based on what? What will they need to survive?
I mean, they see, you can't bomb yourself out of a regime. Right? You can't engage a regime change by just bombing the heck out of it.
Okay.
The Americans have tried it for God knows how many ever times, right?
Yeah.
In
How long
Vietnam,
will they survive? How
Vietnam,
long
they
will
did
the
it in
regime
Vietnam.
survive?
Starting from
They,
World War II, they
Forget
tried
about forget about
bombing.
the history. I don't want to go to history. My point is, how long will it survive? Will it survive 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? How long will it survive?
it, this is why history is important. So they tried it with the Nazis in World War II, right? They tried bombing the Nazis for about 6 months in World War II. Nazis still survived for a year and a half, and they only survived. I mean, the Nazis were only defeated because the Soviet Union came and conquered Berlin,
exactly.
right?
No, Nazis are
They
defeated
did.
because they were stupid and went against the Soviet Union. That's
Hmm?
basically stupidity.
No, no, no.
They were
So
defeatist.
when again, this is why history is important. When the Allied Air Force, primarily the Western Air Force, started bombing Germany, right? The Soviet Union was nowhere close to Germany. They were barely surviving Stalingrad,
No, I get that.
right?
I know that.
But again, Vietnam, the Nixon bombed the heck out of Cambodia, Laos, and North Vietnam.
No, I get all of that. Can you, based on that information, tell me how long will the Iranian regime survive? I'm curious about that. Because next question is based on that only.
I think it has quite a strong chance of survivability beyond 2 years or 3 years.
So if it's going to survive beyond 2 or 3 years, then the Straits of Hormuz are going to be closed for the next 2 or 3 years, right?
No,
Yeah, how else will it survive?
no. See, nobody is going to send troops into Iran to topple the regime. That's what you need.
No, I'm asking you about the Straits of Hormuz. Like, if the regime survives, their only trump card right now is not nuclear weapons. It is the Straits of Hormuz,
No,
and they will keep putting pressure on the Straits of
no,
Hormuz.
you're mistaking this thing. Regime survival doesn't mean that they can hold the Straits of Hormuz.
So what will they hold then?
Right? They're just going to hold their own territory. Like, you just can't get into the country. That's it.
So are you
They
saying
won't have.
it'll be the regions around Tehran, some parts of what's another? I forgot the name of that. A few of the like the region hotspots. There they will hold. You're saying
Yeah,
they'll lose the coast. You're saying.
I don't think they lose their coast. They will lose their naval the ability to basically conduct naval campaigns. The
Okay.
ability to conduct
Do you think they'll be able to still do missile and drone attacks?
occasionally. They would be.
Okay.
You see, what I think will happen is they'll be reduced to basically how the Houthis are today. They will occasionally launch missiles. They might conduct piracy operations, but that's about it.
Okay. And who will be in charge of the Straits of Hormuz at that point of time? You think who will be like managing the straits?
Has the regime elected a new Ayatollah yet? But it still survives, right?
No, I'm asking who will be. I'm talking in terms of nuts and bolts. Who do you think is post that survival? Who will manage the Straits of Hormuz in terms of the flow of traffic and any issues like the two ships collide? Who will be the one who manages that system? You think?
I mean, that's already managed independently. Iran's not actively managing the Straits of Hormuz. There's no air traffic controller that basically.
I
Correct.
think there is a conglomerate called the International Maritime Security Force or something similar to that name. that manages, all of these operations in and around Gulf of Aden, Red Sea, Straits of Hormuz, Persian Gulf area.
So
It's a conglomerate of multiple
that's
different
right. So
countries,
right now,
including India, which does it.
at this point, even the conglomerate is not able to ensure that ships pass through that straits, right? So if
No,
there are
no,
attacks,
no, 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 no. I think you're mistaken there, right?
what else?
The reason why the Straits of Hormuz is closed is because of a shock in insurance prices.
Exactly.
Exactly.
No, not just that. It's also because
It's
they don't
not.
want to take the risk of getting blown up when they're passing
No,
through the insurance price shock is because the people don't want to insure ships that are going to be going past a dangerous area. That's the main reason.
no. I mean,
Yes,
see,
that's why insurance goes up.
I think you're mistaken again, right? So
Oh, my mistake.
Iran gave China a free pass to basically go through the Strait of Hormuz, but Chinese shipping companies have not gone through the Strait of Hormuz. What explains that? What
That's my
explains that
point. My
behavior?
point is that the insurance companies are scared of any liability in a war zone. So they're stopping they're basically increasing their rates very high or not even insuring some things. Some of them not even insured. My point is the flow of oil and flow of goods to Straits of Hormuz is stopped as now. And you have to accept that it's stopped, right? It's stopped and it will not change, the situation will not change until Straits of Hormuz are stable. Who will ensure the stability?
Uh,
Who conglomerate will ensure the
I
stability?
doubt it.
Or until the Chinese or Indian government creates their own parallel maritime insurance
So
system,
my
which they're already
Yeah,
working on.
I
my
think
point
it's
my
just
point
primarily driven by insurance prices. If tomorrow
no, my point,
insurance,
yeah, I get
Yeah.
no,
that.
hold on,
You're
hold on,
still
hold
going
on,
repeating
hold
the
on.
same thing again.
No, I think
My point is okay, fine, insurance prices are dependent on that. But my point is who should ensure that insurance prices will come down?
insurers
Okay,
themselves.
okay.
If insurers themselves basically say that okay, the straits is stable enough, we can bring down ship insurance
So
prices.
who will
They'll go
ensure
up.
the stability? Who will ensure the stability of the
That's on
state?
them to decide, right?
Who
Like
is them? I'm curious.
there are
Okay,
insurers have
okay,
analysts over
hold
there,
on, hold on,
right?
hold
So
on, hold
hold
on,
on, hold
hold
on.
on. Let me
Insurance have
answer
yeah.
Anand's questions. Anand, let me. I know what you are asking. Let me answer you one by one.
Hmm.
See, first of all, read the signals very important. When Iran attacked the refineries, the airports in
Exactly.
Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, correct? That is actually short term very bad, but in long term, what was Iran? Let's say pre this event, pre this Israel war event. What was Iran? Iran was a conglomerate, a, a factory of exporting terrorists from Syria to Iraq to Lebanon. Okay, it was exporting instability, it was funding fundamentalism, which was in short and long term is bad for the region itself. Okay, so now what will happen, what Shastri was trying to answer is, in short term, mid term, long term, Iran will be defanged, so that it will be struggling to survive on its own territory, but it will not be able to destabilize the region. It will not be able to export terrorism. It will not be able to export uh, like people to do all the bad things. So in midterm and long term, you are looking at a much stable, better West Asia region with better numbers in terms of economics and other things, with IMEC coming in. Yeah, in short term there will be an issue. And to answer your question about the Strait of Hormuz, so now everybody from Qatar to Saudi Arabia to UAE, correct? They know the importance of Strait of Hormuz. So they will find a solution to make sure that the Hormuz is, because correct, as you mentioned, the Strait of Hormuz is the gateway where they get their food. Not they export oil and they get their food from there itself, food products. So they will find a way. And Indian Navy is actually doing a lot of work in that region. So you will see in coming years, Indian Navy playing a very important role in the maritime security of the this whole region.
No, see,
Yes.
I'm telling you, like Shastri said, you look at history, okay?
Hmm.
And let's be very honest, in the Arabian region, history has
Hmm.
shown when a
Hmm.
powerful regime breaks, the region
Hmm.
doesn't get more stable, it gets less stable. And it gets more less stable because it's more unstable. This is the truth. That's the state of the situation in that region, right?
mm,
Now, if you're going to say that tomorrow the Iranian regime is going to exist, but it's going to be significantly weakened, it is going to
yes.
lose control of a lot of. That's my question. The reason why I was talking about what will happen to the
Mm,
coast. Will the control of the coast be significant, strong enough of the regime, either the regime or some other proxy of some other group? So, for example, if the Gulf states decide they're going to take the
mm.
other side of the coast, they're going to take it over, right? And they're going to fight a battle of attrition to maintain the stability of the Straits of Hormuz. Then that's something I can think about. Okay, that's that way. But how will they deal with it, right? Or we can say that maybe the Iranian regime is so weakened in the coast that while they exist as an entity, they can't actually project influence on the coast. Or third, that they exist as an entity, they control the coast, but they lose all their access to all of their what do you call it, long range weapons. They're just a
I,
militia that lives in the country.
I'll
All
give
three
you.
different, all
I'll
three have
give.
different situations that create different outcomes for navigation of the straits. So my
I'll
question
give
is
you.
based on
I'll give you a fourth scenario as well. Right? Iran will become more like Iraq after the first Gulf War under Saddam Hussein. The regime was essentially defanged. It was still the state was still stable, but it was even more oppressive than it was previously. Right? So that is a stronger possibility than the rest of them. Right?
say it again. What's the possibility? I didn't get that. I didn't get the possibility.
So um, Iraq prior to the Gulf War was quite a nuisance. Then it invaded Kuwait. Then it got a strong bashing and it retreated within its own borders. The entire state was pretty defined. They had no ability to even project power beyond within its own, outside its own borders, right?
No,
But the
Yeah,
but
state
the
was,
way Iraq
but
is
the state was
structured,
after
the
still,
way Iran is
after
structured is
first
different.
World War,
yeah. After
after
No, but
after,
first
Iraq, the way Iraq and Iran are
first Gulf
structured
War.
are different.
no, no,
The way
no.
Iraq and Iran are structured are different, significantly
It,
different.
the regime still has quite a lot of power and
No, no, no. I'm saying the way the
see,
structure. Iraq was structured in a way that the Ba'athist party, centralized party, was controlling a large Shia majority. This is
it is
different. This
no
Shia
uh,
street, there's
the
spread its
The
tentacles all
IRGC,
over the country.
excuse me, IRGC is actually essentially the same as the Ba'athist Party in structure, right?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
so essentially, Iran will become like Iraq after the first Gulf War. The state will be strong. It will be much more oppressive, but it will be defined to such an extent that it cannot
It
project power beyond its own borders, not
it will
even
be
naval power.
self-contained.
It'll be
Self-contained.
self-contained. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. It'll be self-contained. Right?
one more thing.
And the other thing is that I'm
Before we move
uh,
on, I want to reply to this Asif Iqbal. Can I just reply to Asif Iqbal?
That's like it's a bot account. Don't
It's
reply
okay. It's
to
okay. It's fine. I want to reply to Asif Iqbal. For any border
that.
accounts, anyone else who's watching the stream, I don't
uh,
care about Iran. I care about India, how India happens. Okay. If you have a big problem with it, so great with Iran, you can leave India and go hang out in Iran. Thank you so much. All of you people protesting for Iran and Ayatollah, please leave and go be part of Iran. Bye bye. Continue, please.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay,
I
we have
Acha,
we have
one
Slavin
thing
here.
that I Mhm.
Okay, we have Slavin here. Let Slavin just yes, Slavin. Actually, he has some
just
experience with the
one
Iranian
thing.
people in Pune. Go ahead.
One thing I do want to make one last point is that um, the Arab states will respond quite differently. I guarantee you, they're looking at IMEC and saying that, hey, we need to have another corridor, a backup corridor. So that will also take a lot more impetus. And also considering the fact that they'll get a lot of diplomatic pressure to also work on it. They will get a lot of diplomatic pressure, not just from India, by the way, from other countries as well. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, Slavin.
Hey, hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hi.
yes.
Yeah, so just telling everyone that, I mean, I don't know about if we can extrapolate it to the entire population of Iran, but at least from the people who live in Pune, because there is a little bit of Iranian heritage, or Iranian people who live in Pune. So one of the lady who is married to a Indian guy, so when she came over, like, the first thing that she had put up a video of her mother coming to visit her in India, and like she's not very politically active or wouldn't give her political views, but the first she was making a video of her mother coming at the airport, and the moment she sees her mom, she removes that headscarf very violently from her mother, which shows you what they really feel about this stuff. I had actually a question to ask to all of you regarding this news that was at least 1 or 2 years ago about India building its strategic oil reserves just for times like this. So, do you guys know anything about it and like what its impact might be? And if you have any updates or any, have you read
Yeah,
anything about it?
yeah,
That's my question. Bye bye.
yeah. It's a well publicized thing. I think like technically, India keeps about a month's oil consumption as reserves. It's well known. It's about a month of consumption, which is kept as reserves. So, take an example, correct? The refinery in Jamnagar, or do you have also have in the West Coast? So, the average consumption of per day. So, India keeps about 30 days of its refining capacity, the oil which is there, petrol, diesel, and everything else put together, and that per day average consumption into 30 days that is kept in the reserves to be consumed in case there is a shortage of supply from outside. That's already there, and it is already like it's well known information in terms of it comes from itself government.
Oh,
Yeah.
but they were building, trying to expand it and building new reserves. Have you read about that? Like,
uh,
underground reserves are
we,
being made in Eastern India.
yeah, that you will not know because that would be correct classified in information. So that you will
Uh,
not know, that nobody will be saying, "Okay, okay, we have this here,"
Also,
but
I had one
technically
more
they have
question,
it. Go ahead.
one more last question, and I'll leave you guys to it.
Hmm.
I mean, I'll be on the listening end, but leave from here.
Hmm.
So, about data centers, I have this question because you guys are doing quietly around, so it might be better.
Can't hear him.
So,
He's not clear. Can you hear him?
Okay, your audio is a little bit low. Just check your mic.
okay, just a minute. Can you hear me better now?
Ah, it's better.
Yes, yes, better, better.
I'll I'll try to. I've just switched off the fan. Uh, Hopefully it is better now.
Yeah,
Did
better,
you
better.
know? Yeah. So I wanted to ask about data centers. So where I live, I am living in
Mm-hmm.
a suburb of Mumbai, called Thane, and over here they are trying to build a like a data center, and there is a lot
Mm-hmm.
of opposition from like local people because there is already water shortage and all. So do you guys know
Mm-hmm.
like if it is a good idea to uh, put a data center in a very residential sort of very busy highway sort of population dense area, will it provide jobs or like
Yes,
impact on
yes,
water shortage and everything?
yes, yes,
That's my
yes, yes,
question.
yes, 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 and beat the shit out of them. Data centers are very, very efficient with their water usage. Barely 5% of their water goes to waste. So beat the shit out of them, crap on them,
Who?
maybe like destroy their houses, do whatever. Let that data center be built. This is all like
Oh,
this is all like the wokeness that they have imported from social media, from Western countries, right?
yeah.
Essentially this is like a Disha Ravi movement, or you should treat this like um, the depot at RA. But since you live in
Exactly.
Thane, if you know these people personally, throw shit at them, give them jaundice, give them cholera, give them all kinds of diseases so that they are so weak and feeble that they can't even think about protesting.
Okay.
And if they have so much of a problem, tell them to live on the banks of Methi in Kurla
See,
No,
wait,
no,
hold on.
no,
and
just
have all the
feed,
water
no,
they
no, no,
need.
no, 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 no. Just feed them the water. Don't make them, don't, no, let them drink that shitty water.
Exactly.
Okay,
Let them
can
drink
I
it. And,
can I give more constructive like okay. So the thing with data centers is first of all they take a lot. I agree they take a lot of power, they take a lot of water. But you need to create you need like create the power, right? So if you want to create the power, there are multiple types of power methods. There is you can't do solar in that region. I'm guessing it's not a lot of flat land. You can't do maybe you can do a coal-fired plant maybe. So maybe a coal-fired plant will come up. You need people to run the coal-fired plant, so it creates jobs, right? They need people to transport the coal to the coal-fired plants. You need jobs. You need people to feed those people who transport the coal. You need people feed the people who work in the plant. You need people who will provide rest and relaxation for people who are going to work in that plant. Any job, there's a problem with a lot of the opposition in India. They don't seem to understand. Even if there are 100 jobs created by one plant, they don't just create 100 jobs. They create 100 times, certain like 3 or 4 times, because each person requires servicing from other people. And each person who has productive money has money to spend on other things, other goods. And the minute you can spend on other goods, other people are employed, gainfully employed, and it improves basically how does the economy work. Second thing, with water. Think about, okay, there's a problem with water. You can use wastewater. You can have a sewage treatment plant that cleans the water and provides clean water to the plant, to the data center. That creates jobs, right? Then whatever effluent that comes out of that plant needs to be cleaned again before it goes into the water. That creates more jobs. Like if you only care about I'm an environmentalist. So I get upset with Shastri saying environmentalist. I'm an environmentalist. I believe in the environment needs to be protected. Okay. But there's a positive form of environmentalism. This is a stupidity. I'm sorry, they're stupid people. They're like, I don't want anything in my area. This is a goop people, right? Don't use pharmaceuticals. Use the leaf on the side of the road and wipe your wound with it. It is more positive to the world. Like that, those people, idiots, like unscientific people, right? So there's always a solution, a scientific solution to such problems. You can no stop your growth just because you're worried about the environment. There are solutions to every single environmental problem we face in our cities.
Anand, I think we are ignoring a very root problem. Problem is still the Indian state. So we, in our genes, in our genetics, correct, we have this thinking that you cannot trust the babu, you cannot trust the politician, you cannot trust the state to do something good for you. So the common masses of Bharat, of this region, including Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India, okay, this region for last 200 years, approximately 200 years, are fighting the state to protect its own rights. So like wherever there is something happening, correct, whether it's a plant or something is happening, there's always going to be this problem, because fundamentally the masses do not trust the state function. That includes
No, I
politicians,
disagree with you. I disagree with you. It's the opposite.
Okay.
The masses trust the state too much. They don't trust their wealth creator. They don't trust their own citizens. That's a problem. They don't trust other citizens to provide solutions to their system. They're like, oh, I have a problem. I will not work with my community. I'll say this babu must fix my problem. That is the problem with our country. We are so feudal in our idea that the king or the higher level official will do the solution for us. And the minute the higher level official does some solution, then the distrust comes in. Because why? Because you're like, oh, I have my own political bias. Like, everyone's choosing a political side. That's the problem. We are feudal. We are feudal in our identity. We're like, oh, I am chosen this side. The other side is my enemy. I don't care what they say. Whether they give a logical answer or not a logical answer, man, I will not agree with you. That's exactly what's happening in India. It's not because they don't trust the state. They trust the state too much. The problem is they trust the state too much to fix their problems. They don't take the action themselves. That is the problem we have in our country. I'm sorry, I disagree with you on this. We trust the babu too much. For example, you're like, oh, take control of our temples. If you really didn't trust the state, you like, get out of my temple. Why the hell are you in my temple? I don't need you to manage religious affairs. If there's someone doing some nonsense, nefarious stuff, I will step up and look after the temple. Why are you in the temple for no reason? If there's some person stealing from the temple, I will keep my eyes open. I care about my devta, right? Are you saying I don't care about a devta? That's a question you should be asking. Not like, oh, no, corruption will happen. You should be like, my devta, I care about my devta, I care about his temple. Why are you coming telling me how I should look after my temple? If he's stealing, I'll kick his ass. Why are you coming in the middle? That is when the promise we want to, I just want to go to the temple, I want to just do prayer and come back. care two hoots about whether the temple survives or not. Until I realize, oh shit, the temple is closing down because they can't pay for maintenance. So we must understand this is the problem with the Indian state. We are feudal in our identity. And Nehru enjoyed this. Why did he create a nanny state? Because he's like, they're feudal. Let me take advantage of it. Like they want everything me to fix it. I'll be your nanny. I'll be your mummy. I'll give you dudu. I'll give you your mali. Everything. That is the problem with our country. Same thing with this data center issue. Why are they so afraid? They're like, oh, this private company run by citizens will take over will destroy our life. Hey, Babu, save us. Get rid of this private company. Use the state to kick them out. That is what's happening. We don't trust our fellow citizens to do anything proper, anything constructive.
Yeah,
That is the
Rishabh,
issue.
To be
you have.
fair, it is
That's
not
what we need to
the.
fundamentally change.
To be fair, it is not
Okay.
your fellow citizen. It is, I think, Amazon data center or something like that. So
It is
it's
the
not
Amazon data center is not
exactly.
going to be run by Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is not going to sit here and build the data center. He's gonna use certain citizens in India to run the data center. Right? He's not going to be like just
अरे
some random.
Slevin, see, 100 बातों की एक बात. Whoever has this problem now, just tell them, boss, if you don't let them build in Thane, they'll go to Kalyan Dombivli, they'll go to Navi
Ah,
Mumbai, they'll go to CBD Velapur. Your property prices will fall. Then everyone will get back in line. This is a very Mumbaiker way of handling this issue. It's new, na? It's fine.
I mean, it's not like anything is not
Uh,
going to happen. Like Amazon, I think,
no, no,
paid 1,800 crores for the land. That's not a small
Yeah.
amount.
no,
1,800
no, no.
crores for
Actually,
that land.
I, I,
wait,
They are
Tata
not
could
going
actually,
be
anywhere.
out of Bengal. Then this can happen.
wait.
It starts
Wait,
too
wait.
much.
See, one more thing. I think these decisions are created by actually many politicians and also people who own land. So if there is a dispute, they will get more money than they are already getting. So it's also a
Yes,
tactic by people to
exactly.
get more money.
We fall
Yeah.
for this
See,
shit. You know who we should be
see,
scared of? The bloody politician. Always any a politician tells you be aware because our politicians are not politicians. Our politicians are base gundas who just have the aura
hmm,
of respectability. Okay, a true politician is actually based on policy. He can discuss policy any minute. You could talk to him like, oh, I know what the challenges of the area are.
Anand, you need to go one level deeper. The politician, the Indian politician is not a gunda. The Indian politician is a businessman in the guise of a gunda, in the guise of a politician.
Exactly, exactly. Couldn't agree more. I'll tell you one more tidbit. So we have a like a metro line being constructed, and it's like 95%, 96% done. Only
Hmm,
one sort of one section between two pillars is remaining. Okay, since 3 4 years they are not doing anything. Now what has come out is that plot where that thing goes is owned by a Shiv Sena ML, like ex
hmm,
corporator of Shiv Sena, and he has a hoarding spot over there. So he earns lakhs of rupees from that spot. So he's not
hmm,
letting that spot go easily. So he jacked up the prices like crazy, and just now they got that spot after 3 4 years of negotiation. And were not letting this news come out that the land is ultimately owned by their own people, Shiv Sena people. So that's your point about them being businessmen and trying to get the most money for
yeah.
things.
See,
No,
that is
this
why I'm not
this is
worried
what
about the data center in the long term. They're just going to use this as a negotiation tool to maybe get some more money or whatever from Amazon. In the long run, will be they'll be able to build it up. I'm not too worried. See, it's a false equivalence to जब भी कुछ होता है, people bring up Shingur. I think it's a bit of a false equivalence in Bengal. You know, हम लोग अपना खुद का चूरन चाट लिए, which no one else does. So it's fine, हो जाएगा. So
ये
from
चूरन
I have
चाटना
lived
है.
in जो भी है. So I have lived in Mumbai for a limited time, 2.5 years. But from what I've seen in my experience, everyone out there is just looking to extract the maximum amount of resources that they can for themselves, which is a commendable thing. I think it's more a negotiation tactic than anything else. If the government of Maharashtra and Thane wants to build it, they will build it. It will not matter. in the long run. Maybe it
See,
will be delayed by a year or two, but it will happen just like RA happened.
no, no, my core fundamental point is people in India do not realize a bureaucrat and a governor are also politicians.
Yes.
You go look at the definition of what a bureaucrat and a politician is. A bureaucrat and a governor are, they're also politicians. I don't understand the argument again. I frequently hear this nonsense. Oh, the governor is politicizing the issue. He has to. He's a politician. He has certain duties he has to do, or there's no point sitting there. You can just give it to a robot. A robot can place there. The robot will say yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. Just stamp on the bill with a hand, and you don't need a governor. You literally
He
don't.
is
You
a
know what?
political
You know what?
appointee. He's a political appointee of the central government.
That doesn't matter. He's not a politician. His duty as a governor is a political one. It's one of policy. For example, if tomorrow a particular bill comes through from the state legislative assembly that is not constitutional, it is his duty, fundamental duty to prevent it. The problem in India is we don't go to first principles. A politician has to do his duty based on his role. We don't want the politician who's to do his role. What the hell? Because we have got personal political grievances. Like we have chosen a side.
I mean, I wouldn't discount
You want a country
people's
like the
grievances
first
about
world.
politicians.
My
They
biggest
haven't
problem is
been
that
the
you want a
best
country like the
case
first
studies.
world. You want a country like the first world, but you want to think like the first world. I want first world living, but you don't want to think like how the first world thinks. The first world thinks a particular person's role is fixed. He has to do his duty. It doesn't matter what your political bias is. Whether you're BJP, Congress, like the left, doesn't matter. The constitution lays out a particular role for that person. They have to fulfill that role. You see, even our own judiciary doesn't follow these rules strictly. We have High Court judges, Supreme Court judges going to what they can or cannot do. The governor's role is the most clear defined role. His role is to look at a bill, observe whether it is by his judgment, whether it fits the the constitutional rights, and then pass it back to the assembly to make it more fit the constitution. That's his duty. You can't be like, oh no, I agree with you. The governor's rubber stamp. Then why have a governor? Cancel it. Remove it from the constitution. We're wasting money on a governor's mansion, knocker, chucker, all nonsense shit for a governor because he's got no bloody work to do. Same
Okay.
with the courts. Look at the courts. You're like, oh, every case can be taken up to the Supreme Court. Then why have the lower courts? Remove all the lower courts, put all Supreme Court justices, and they'll handle all the cases. We're wasting so much money. We're wasting taxpayers' money on every single bloody level of our bloody courts. When nothing stands, no court, no judgment can stand permanently.
Yes, we need a revolution. Let's
I'm
import some revolution from Iran.
I'm sick of this argument, regular argument. And the worst part is our media, our journalists are bloody illiterate little idiots.
No, they are very smart. They are very
The
smart.
latest headline is debated headline like some robots. That's it.
They are
Acha.
paid to do that.
These are
thing.
all
They are
like
paid.
different 5-hour discussions on their own. I think let's go get back to topic. Honestly, I feel your pain, Anand, but no point discussing this. Everyone knows what the problem
We got
is.
to be sure.
Everyone
We got
knows how to what the solution is, but everyone knows people in power don't have any
Shastri,
incentive
I've
to work
always
on
been
it.
a radical capitalist. I've always been a radical capitalist. Just you
Thank
guys
you
not
guys. I
realize
will
it. I don't know why.
Bye bye.
My biggest problem with RSS is that it's so socialist. I wish it was more capitalist like me, and I would like RSS come let me hug you together. Like I would have literally done that. But it's like what to do?
RSS is running grocery stores in Kerala. You know?
Arey, I'm okay with RSS people running grocery stores. Why the RSS running the grocery
No.
store? That's my question.
No, it's same thing. Like RSS
Not the
people
same
are
thing.
running grocery because RSS itself has nothing. There's no property name in the name of RSS. Got it? So RSS people are running farms. RSS people are running grocery stores in Kerala. Keralam. Sorry, new name. Good name. Okay.
No, so
Final thoughts.
returning to Iran.
Of people.
Returning to Iran.
Yeah, go ahead.
Returning to Iran. See, my point very simply is we need to. My first thing is we need to stop looking at these things as moral, and I want the Indian government to start framing it as not moral. Like I don't want this argument of morality. I want it to stop being used. No,
No,
even
no.
from
See,
the way
in
they say.
real politic terms, it doesn't happen that way. In real politics, they know what will happen. Actually, I will give an example. Okay, later.
Hmm.
Go ahead.
No, no, I'm
In
saying even
real terms, it doesn't happen. There is no morality.
no, no, I'm saying even the functionaries of the Indian government. I'm saying even the BJP should stop framing everything as a moral argument. Be brutally practical about stuff. Even their discussions with the opposition is based on morality. Stop discussing morality. So, for example, you take the Navy warship take being
Oh,
the
that
warship
is
being taken down.
see that is rhetoric for the common masses. Like when when Jaishankar is talking of real politics to their counterparts, he is not the same things which is being said by the BJP spokesperson. So it's all two
No,
different
but the
things.
common masses already know that morality is not in the discussion. That's my point. The problem what is happening right now. They engage the opposition for making moral arguments. It's like there's a fire, right? When you get engaged in the fire by throwing fuel on it, the fire gets bigger and bigger. My point is throw sand on it, or don't even look at the fire. Don't feed it anything. Yeah, your strategy is it's like built on confrontation with the opposition only. Discuss this concept, this discussion. Don't even discuss with the opposition. Ignore the opposition. Let them scream and shout for a few days. It didn't die down on its own. But the problem is you have to engage. You'd engage. For example, Khomeini died, right? They'd engage. Oh, Khomeini was a vindictive man, blah, 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 blah. Then suddenly 3 days later, they had to go sign that book. And now they're like, oh, shit on their face. All the MPs have shit on their face saying, you just now said Khomeini is an evil man. Why are you signing that book? So my point is that the government and the functionaries of the BJP need to stop talking about morality. Talk about real politics. When Khomeini died, your first reaction should be, this affects our economy. What do we do for the economy? What is our focus on? We'll negotiate with all parties. Like how they made it a phenomenal job. We'll negotiate with all parties. We'll bring this peace down. That's it. And if the Shias are protesting, let the Shias protest for a day. Right? Let them protest. Your mullah, your head is died. But beyond that, I'm sorry. If you're an Indian citizen, you can cry about your head for a while, but you're back to work. Back to work for this country. This country is your duty. Your duty is to this country. That's what the narrative should be out. It's like, for example, if some guru in India dies, you're like, no, I will protest all day. No, you're like, Asaram Bapu went to jail. Can they burn the whole country down because Asaram Bapu went to jail? No, right? You go back to working. Go back to work for the country. That should be the stance. This Indian government stance should be that. And if you have a problem with the Iranian war, we will give you one-way ticket to Iran. All of you people who are so worried about it.
Are Anand, what you are saying? We have here master stroke from Amit Shah. What you are saying?
I don't know what the master
let
stroke.
me let me show you something. It's
Show me
very
the master
interesting.
stroke.
Here it is. Correct. It is. We are spreading our uh, uh, wings across across Indian subcontinent. Yeah, Rishabh. Final words to you.
I don't know what is the master stroke. I'm
Uh,
confused.
I,
This
I,
guy is from ABBP, the guy who
ABVP.
won.
Don't get me started on the ABVP. Don't talk
Are
about ABVP.
some one person from Nepal has some connection with ABVP and RSS. One person who won an election in
One
Nepal.
person,
One
Telangana
person.
Chief Minister, has the connections to ABVP. Telangana Chief
Yeah,
Minister.
exactly.
It shows you what ABVP creates.
It's a master stroke,
Okay.
so people are enjoying this. Go ahead.
Nonsense. Uh, okay. See, my thoughts are you have. I disagree with Anand a little bit. You have to engage in rhetoric. I agree with Anand on the fact that who do you engage with on that rhetoric? Engage the world with that rhetoric. Now, when you're talking to other foreign ministers, people from foreign countries, you can't just say, oh, we don't care, Iran is being bombed and the leadership died. Because you have to keep working with the Iranians. Later, we don't want them to have a reason to not work with us, rhetorical or otherwise. I agree with Anand. Why are you engaging the opposition? Who gives a shit about the Indian opposition really today? They're irrelevant, useless people. Does not matter. I totally agree. Why are you doing all of that? Just say, we are sorry, whatever in your fancy word. So sorry that he died. Really tragic affair. No need to condemn the US and then forget about him. Khatam, he's dead. Over. Beyond that, we don't need to do anything. Was no friend of India. And then keep doing what you need to do. But thoda, fine. I forgive rhetoric, but you have to direct it properly. Why are you directing it? Directing foreign rhetoric, diplomatics to conversations internally. That is just a hit and a miss, a stupid thing that the BJP is doing. Uh, and yeah, loudmouth BJP MPs, MLAs have always been a problem point of the BJP. Uh, let's not even get into that. In terms of what
No, no,
India needs to do,
loudmouth BJP MPs with intellect, right? Loudmouth BJP MPs who got a tweet from the IT cell and just repeated it is different. You know,
BJP doesn't elect people with it, or doesn't select people with intellect. No, no. If it did, it would have been a very different thing. But anyways, coming back to Iran and West Asia, um, see, very simple thing. We need to keep our heads down, and we need to let what will happen. Being very realistic, we we don't have too much of a say in what is happening over there, nor should we do that, because if we try to start influencing things over there, the US will be like, okay, if you want me to do this, then give me some concessions. Maybe okay, if you want me to stop, uh, uh, maybe if you want me to, I have these concerns about my security in this region. If you want me to relax in Iran a little bit, give me Vizag port. That will boost my security in the region. Or give me Vizhingham port. So we don't want to do stuff like that. We need to keep our heads down, let whatever happen, and start just creating initial conversations, dialogues with all of the different power centers in Iran. Right now, the leadership is completely fractured, and that is about it. Every when it comes to Indian trade, Indian investments in the region, that will not be affected long term. Maybe there will be damage. The damage can always be repaired. We just need to make sure we are engaged in a very quiet way without making any demands at the moment. Let the two if you're walking down the road and you're seeing two dogs with rabies fighting each other, good, let them fight each other so that they don't fight you, so that they don't run after you to bite you. Let it happen. I mean, we need to also, not see the one point that I need to make in general, the more relevant you start becoming in the world now, the more everyone has an opinion about you. If an
yes.
American president sneezes now, everyone from bloody Vancouver to Tokyo has an opinion about it. Do you see an American caring? Okay, it's very new to us. I will give Indians a long group on this because it is very new to us, and we have a history where reporting about India has been so bloody unfair that people are very sensitive and touchy about it. This is a muscle that we will have to build, and we are building it. I mean, for example, in the last year or two, have you seen any serious conversation about those European metrics and all? Everyone knows they're a fraud. Pehle people used to get outraged every month about them. Abhi bhi metrics are there. And sure, some people just keep getting outraged about it. By and large, people have stopped caring. So we are also building that muscle. So we need to stop, caring so much. We are rising in the world. We are a growing power. Our economy is growing at an amazing rate. We are gonna get richer soon. We are gonna, and all of these shocks should not matter to us. We need to start having a more long term, not just the government, the people. We need to start, stop rather reacting to everything like it's doomsday, and we need to start looking at things, take a breath, and start looking at things from a long term perspective. The conflict in West Asia will affect us. Sure, it will have its oil shocks and whatever. In the long run, medium run for the Indian economy, it will not have any adverse effects. If Iran is brought to its knees and it is carved up and the world starts trading with them, it's very good for India. If this regime stays and we can, somehow here or there make deals with them, it's business as usual for India. maybe at a little bit of a diminished capacity. See, very frankly, even today, Chabahar has been a very dead investment. Uh, Most of what we wanted to do with it never fructified, and this year we had pulled out. In fact, this year in January and February, after the budget, we had pulled out completely from Chabahar. We had basically declared it a dead asset without actually declaring it. Functionally, we had done that. So maybe that's can open up all of those avenues if Iran joins the global fold again. And also one more thing that we did not discuss, but it is something maybe for everyone to ponder. When oil prices are above $70 a barrel, American shale oil becomes commercially viable. Below that, American shale oil is not commercially viable. So at $70 a barrel is keeping oil above that level is also something that is in America's long-term strategic interest, because at those rates it can be functionally basically oil independent. Below that, it has to be
It
involved in
is
the Middle
60,
East.
correct? Rishabh, it is around 60 dollars, 60,
$60.
65.
Okay.
But
Huh,
last I
okay, sure.
last I heard it was around 60, 65, 60 to 65 range. It was there
Yeah.
in terms of inflation. So like
Hmm.
60 was at par at which the shale gas and oil can be produced. Can be
Yeah. So okay,
mined.
let's assume 65. So if oil starts falling below that point, and so here's the dichotomy: America will always try to do something to keep oil prices at 65 or above, assuming that's the cutoff. The Gulf countries will always try to keep oil prices below that. So as a result, 60 to 65 to $70 में fluctuation होता रहेगा. But the moment it crosses like 75, $80 a barrel, it becomes a problem for everyone because it starts affecting their macroeconomics. So let leave it to uh, the wanted superpowers of this world. हम तो बुद्ध के देश है, हमें कुछ करने का जरूरत नहीं है. We can keep our heads down, make money on the side, and chill. No need for any panic on this.
No,
Okay.
They will figure out.
my focus is less about whether we should uh, like wade into the political consequence. My point is make money while the sun, make hay while the sun shines,
Yeah,
and our strategy should
exactly.
be like take advantage of these people as much as possible. No friend,
Hmm.
trust them. Treat them as not friends. Just don't need to virtue signal. I mean, I know you're saying that you need to virtue signal a little bit to the. There's no need. They are down in the dumps. Virtue signaling is not required. Just give them economic help. Use the
Yeah.
different parts of it.
For
Like how Afghanistan. We
Anand,
need to virtue
Anand,
we need to virtue signal. Let me finish. We need to virtue signal to Afghanistan saying, "Oh, you guys are great protectors of women's rights." We need to say that to them. We need to say any of that stuff. We just need to say we will help you build your projects. We will provide you with infrastructure. We provide you with food, with money for that infrastructure. They are nice friends with us. We don't need to agree with them in terms of the moral framework. But that's my point. There's no need to virtue signal to Iran. Just say this is what we want. We don't
Sure.
want to work with you. That's it.
Yeah, I take your point on that. I disagree, but yeah, I take your point on that. That is also a viable route. Yeah,
That's why
we
we
can
got
do
the,
that. We can take
Navy
the
ship.
Afghanistan approach. Yeah.
Why do we the Navy shade into Kochi? Because you want to like tell the Iranians, don't worry, we're not your enemies in terms of military. Just don't worry, just give us the concessions.
see, Anand, to just finish the point and we'll end this stream for today. See, what you need, what you need is hard power like America. America doesn't give a shit about shit to anybody because they are self-sufficient in terms of their energy, food, defense, everything. So you need hard power to actually be the state where you don't give a damn or do not do what you signal. A country, a middle power like India, has to play that game until it reaches. See, China. Take example. China. Take example. China. China has some amount of hard power. Okay, so that's why Saudi Arabia and all the Muslim countries never raised the issue of Xinjiang, the
Yeah.
Uyghur Muslims. Correct, correct. Because China has hard power. So India is not in that stage where it has the hard power to actually do those kind of things. So that's why India does those things, because it's a middle
Also,
power.
one thing we never discussed, one very interesting thing we never discussed, maybe someday we can discuss it. We have
Hmm.
forgotten the Andamans are going to come online in a couple of years. The
Hmm.
Andaman Nicobar Islands are going to come online in a couple of years, including the oil drilling there offshore. We are
Yes,
forgetting
yes,
a large
yes.
number of oil reserves are going to come online. We will become like the Gulf at one point of time. Along with that, if we invest in thorium, invest in nuclear thorium power, we will literally become the most filthy rich country in the universe, in the whole world. If we plan our strategy right.
Okay, so let's do one thing now. We will have one more stream on the thorium, because thorium is something which people don't know. Like, I know about it because I did some study on this, thorium reactors and how they work,
Are
and
you
how
talking about
India.
those three-stage reactors where we are turning thorium into uranium as nuclear fuel and all of
No,
that?
no, small. Yeah, this is the mini reactors. Yes,
Yeah.
because
See,
we
thorium.
don't need much urium. We just need enough urium to start the chain reaction. Just a little bit.
Hmm.
See, yeah. So thorium reactor technology is working for almost now 40 years. We are working on this because in long term, thorium reactors are going to, like, they are less in terms of pollution, safety. All those things are much more taken care of. It's not as volatile as uranium.
The
So, and
products.
India has made some progress, good progress, and with some technology coming from outside, from France and other players, and India has a vast amount of thorium reserves. Okay.
Yep.
So I think, let's discuss our next stream. We'll have Anand, and also we'll have Rishabh as well. We'll publish it. So we'll discuss the oil and gas in Andaman Sea,
All
and
energy,
also
just
the,
energy security of India.
yeah, energy security in India. So we'll do that thing. That will be very
Dada,
interesting.
can I recommend one thing over here? Maybe
Bolo,
something more
yes, yes.
like the economics of extractive industries. Because that way we can also talk about farming and mining in addition to, you know, natural gas and energy.
Do one thing. In that case, you need to send me an email. Okay. You have the in our channel. You have, correct,
No,
our
I
email
think I've
ID.
separated them into two sections. I don't think you should do it together because while they overlap a little bit, they will confuse the audience of what is the. See, the point is that extractive industries, maybe you could do it like energy structure. Then you do based on what you're extracting to get that energy structure, right? Because we talk about biofuels and we talk about the sugarcane as well. If we talk about talk about fuel like coal, like we're still using a lot of coal plants. Transition from coal to, like, we can do part two could be your extractive industries.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So that works.
So, send me email on this email ID, Navimash. Okay. So we can collaborate, and then we can actually, like, make some presentation and do it. That will be a little bit better, because now it's very easy to make presentation with data. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Rishabh. Thank you, Anand. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I'll see you tomorrow. Jai Shri Ram, Vande Mataram.
Just bye bye.
Yeah, Shiran. Thanks everyone. Good night.